Gerald, Joe, you're gonna take over the meeting.
It's like, what the heck?
Well,
Federal case.
that's what happened when you got missing 2 meetings.
And I guess that's true.
First appointment is 7 o'clock. Petition number 987, Keziah Nazarella. The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, April 10th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the Board of Selectmen's meeting room at Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application by Keziah Nazarella for a special permit for an open-air business, outside sales, and a special permit for agricultural use, a greenhouse in a business zone located at 416 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by Halifax Park Plaza of 1 Washington Plaza, Suite A, 401, High Park, Mass. 02136. As shown on the assessors map, 72, Lot 10, Book 52462, page 7. The applicant is seeking a special permit for an open-air business, outside sales, and a special permit for agricultural use for a greenhouse in the business zone, as this project would violate Halifax Zoning Board, Halifax Zoning Bylaw 167-7, Schedule of Use Regulations, and requires a special permit for an open-air business and a special permit for agricultural use for a greenhouse in the business zone area is zoned business. Petition 987. Nazarella, would you like to explain what you want to do?
I'm just looking for a piece of property in Halifax 416. We lost the other properties, I just want to do the same thing I was doing before.
At the new location.
Yeah.
And it's going to be just a open air type of a setup with a couple of agricultural, similar to what you had at the other location down there.
Yes.
Any questions? Anyone from the audience? Yes.
According to the...
Just state your name, please.
Statement, Mr. Nazarella was looking to do...
Excuse me, could you state your name, please? State your name.
I'm Fred Corrigan from 7 Rosewood Drive,
All right.
It's broken.
and it said that he's looking for a special permit to also do a greenhouse on that property, which is where the agricultural part of this permit comes in. And my question is are we actually going to be growing in this greenhouse? Are we going to be planting? Are we using chemicals?
No chemicals.
No chemicals. So you're just taking, and let's say, any potted plants that you have and put them in the greenhouse to preserve them.
Yes.
Will the customers be allowed to use that greenhouse? Will they be in and out to buy? And will there be outside tables just like you had at the other place?
Yes.
Okay. Will there be any storage there of bulk dirt or
No,
landscaping materials?
just, we sell mulch and fiber.
Right, you'll have mulch and firewood at the new place also. How much of that lot are you going to be taking up? Do you have any idea that the dimensions?
38,000 square feet.
Okay. And that lot isn't paved at the present.
No, it has a paved parking space.
Right next to it between that lot and the plaza.
In front of it,
What's the
yes.
address again?
Okay. Okay. Next question.
16.
Will you be also putting in a handicap parking spot there?
There
Because
is one there already.
is there one already in that area? Okay, very good. In that area relative to delivery of your mulch, will you be having big tractor trailers coming in, dumping mulch or what have you,
Yes, once a week.
once a week?
Yeah.
And as I recall, your other lot, generally that was overnight or whatever. You didn't bring them in a busy part of the day. Okay. I believe that handles my questions. Thank you.
Do you have hours of operation?
From 8 to 6.
what will be, it seems like there weren't any issues with the previous place. So I guess, is there, what difference, if I think this is partially to his questions as well. Are there differences, or are we just kind of moving locations?
Just
Well,
moving
there's-
it 800 feet down the road.
Questions, but the old one, you don't have a greenhouse.
No.
That's the difference.
But you're not growing in the greenhouse, you're just storing your
Yeah,
plants.
bring plants in, put them in there for sale.
Which is similar to what you were doing before. It was just like there was, yeah, there were plants inside and outside. Yeah, it was just
Yes.
the building stuff.
Bert Gainer, 17 Pemmican Way. I do know the greenhouses that I've seen in the past, they're not permanent structures. They're just put on the ground and anchored. I don't think they're considered as permanent structures or fixtures. And I think, and also, geez, I've been in town for like 3 years, and Mr. Nezzarella's run his business there for as long as I can remember. It's always been run as a clean, safe, great place to go. Mr. Nezzarella, I believe, demonstrated his contributions to, in a lot of different ways to the town. And I think moving down the street about, a quarter of a mile on a straightaway, even with this more business, would be a continued asset to this town.
I personally, myself, it's a big asset to the town. There's a lot of stuff that you can access right there that he has.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask who's going to be voting on this? What members of the board? I
There
don't
would
think it
be,
was stated.
actually, all 5 of us will be voting, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
One more quick question, and that just relates to signage on the property. What type of signage are you going to be able to put up there, Mr. Nezza?
Just a sign on the greenhouse.
Just a sign on the greenhouse, you're not going to do any
No.
freestanding signs out by the road? Thank you, sir.
And both structures are temporary. The arbor and the greenhouse are temporary structures.
It's basically for protection of all your plants that you bring down there, sure. Any other questions?
From April to Christmas.
Any other questions?
You're using the existing entrance and exit?
Yes. Nothing was changed. The site plan is what Park Plaza is, has on there. That's just a little continuation of the 38,000 square feet that's open.
So the parking is, so you're using the parking that's already existing?
Yes, there's 14 parking spaces for that 38,000 square feet.
Oh, okay. That's already designated
It's
specifically
already
for that.
designated for that location.
And the office trailer, is that temporary too?
Not right now.
Oh, you're not doing it?
I don't have it right now. I'm just going to
Okay.
put the greenhouse and the
This is the lot. It's the existing one.
So these is going to be 1, 2, 3, 2 greenhouses. This is
Yeah.
how the building's at the
So
end.
that's- yeah, and we'll put this up.
And then the car wash is right here.
Is it a little bit bigger, no? No?
Is it?
Is it a little bit bigger?
I don't think so.
No?
Any other questions? Someone like to make a motion? Okay, good.
It's in the letter from the building inspector, it says something about the architectural access board. I don't know what that is. I'm just asking.
No, I've gone through the planning board,
Okay.
I've gone through the water health, conservation, there's no conservation issue whatsoever.
Okay. This is agricultural use for a greenhouse in a business zone, but I don't see what.
Well, in the town of Halifax, you have the way to
Special permit.
Is it? I don't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Open air sales, you need it, yeah. I'm good.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept petition number 987 as presented.
Second. A second.
Second. All those in favor? Say aye.
Yes.
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 Yes. Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
As far as having a site inspection,
Oh, we already passed it, so. I think that's a moot point.
good point, okay.
Skip
I
right
just
through.
want to make sure, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I know the discussion's going. We're familiar with the business, that no one's come here in the 12 years I've been on the zoning board to say a word about it, and it seemed like other than the questions I kind of had were answered today, so.
Approved.
All right. On time.
Get some spring plants out there. Let's get some spring plants out there.
I know.
Petition.
I'm trying to keep this organized because we have a
Like a stack there.
forest full of paper today.
Which one? Oh, he's still holding on.
It's 7:10, so petition number 988, Scott Clausen, 21 Plymouth Street. The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, April 10th, 2023 at 7:10 in the Board of Selectmen's meeting room at Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application by Scott Clausen for a special permit to build an addition for an in-law apartment located at 21 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by Scott Clausen of 21 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338. As shown on Assessors Map 66, Lot 1, Book 588, page 108. The applicant seeks a special permit to build an addition for an in-law apartment, as this project would violate Halifax zoning bylaws 167-7D12, Schedule of Use Regulations, Area of Zone Residential, petition 988. Mr. Clarkson?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm looking to put this in-law apartment on for my daughter, husband, and my granddaughter. They're going to start to take over Show Park and manage. We have 106 acres there, a lot of events throughout the year. So we've looked at other alternatives, but someone needs to be on the property. I'm getting older, I want to travel a little bit, I have a place in Maine, so I'd like to get away a little bit, and it's very difficult when someone's not there. There's a lot of events in the summertime, and they're moving up from Florida. My son-in-law's coming in May 1st. My daughter's set to come in the middle of July. They're selling the property down there at present. So they're going to make it a permanent move to take over.
Very good. You have the drawings here for it? You want to explain exactly what addition you're putting on there?
Do you mind if I come up?
Sure, come right up.
This is the existing here. This is going to be a living room, kitchen downstairs, and a two-car garage. So this is the house and the garages. This is the proposed addition. It's under 900, it's at 900 square feet.
That's the total addition size.
Total
Okay.
addition size, plus the garage.
You're gonna have shared utilities there?
Yes, shared utilities and a shared room. There's a big room right here that there's an entrance going to be, it's a big family.
Okay.
A shared family room.
Would you need like an extra septic or will be
Well,
shared septic?
they're using the existing bedrooms and the
Okay.
bathrooms upstairs. We are adding an additional half bath downstairs.
Okay.
So this is the half bath. This is the kitchen living room.
Yep.
That's what he just said.
On the second floor, the bedrooms in this area. Flip over one page. So this is the bedroom here. It's existing, bath. There's going to be a stairway coming up. There's an entrance, this area here, and the living room kitchen's going to be down here. It's going to, this is the shared room here also, cathedral.
So when they come up here, this is the entrance and then stairs to the
Well, the entrance comes into here.
to here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that moves. Go back one page.
Really, it's, you're giving them their own cooking, their own living space, and then they're gonna kind of use the rest of the
Yeah,
bedrooms.
the
and so
upstairs of the
forth.
house I never use. So it makes sense. There's one big,
Yeah.
one beautiful room up there that hasn't been used in 25 years. So they use it
No,
as a bedroom.
use it if it's there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Looks like a big house, but most of it's garage.
Then it goes to adding two additional garages there.
Yeah, they have a beautiful piece of
Yeah.
Florida. It's not going to be as nice. Theirs is a lot nicer.
Is that the new entrance that you're putting there? Or this is the existing?
No, this is existing.
Is this, okay.
Is existing up into that room there.
Okay.
Area. And the bathroom.
Okay.
And their garage. And then they're gonna go upstairs.
That's stairs here.
Upstairs.
That's the kitchen living room, yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Living space.
Cathedral ceiling,
And
and a half bath.
then you're gonna come out here. There's one right there. And then they
Maybe
can
because
use
they
all
don't
those
wanna
bedrooms and so forth that are
go in their own
upstairs.
space.
So he's really just giving them like a kitchen, living room, living space, so that they're not in each other's space.
If they don't want to see him.
You could probably be master on the first floor separate, or something.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, not all the time.
Not all the time, yeah.
No living area above the garage?
No, they just wanted it for storage.
You have a basement below the garage also, or is that
No,
just under?
just below this, yeah.
Pretty good deal. The garage, the living space.
This is the shared room, living room here. The entrance coming in here. One of the reasons I wanted him to live on the property is because when I'm away, I've got a dog, and the dog won't go anywhere else except for in my house. And I've tried that before.
So the in-law area, the smaller area is the downstairs.
Correct. Yeah, this is the addition from here over to here.
Oh, okay. Process.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it's a little bit big, yeah.
Okay.
Any questions from the audience?
So you mentioned a family member is going to be living in there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is it, it's not going to be converted into income-producing apartments?
No.
Is there, I'm just going through the list here. Do you share a major utility?
Yes.
What are they?
Well, it's the sewer and electric is all shared.
That's not larger than 50% of the first floor living space. I think that covers all of our stuff, right? There's shared living space and one shared entrance of the primary dwelling in there.
It's good use of the space they have.
Yeah.
Is it anybody?
Yeah, that's how we're supposed to do this. Yeah, good call. Yep.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to waive the on-site.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. 5-0. It's approved. We have a motion on the petition.
I'll make a motion to accept petition number 988 as presented.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. 5.0. It's approved.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, let's move along.
Something will go wrong.
Wheels will fall off soon
Had a
enough.
good meeting in years.
Just put them behind you. When you're done.
Great idea. Look at you guys.
Sorry.
Okay, hold on.
You on time?
I tried.
Everybody's stuff.
I like it better over here. I feel so cramped.
Look on this side.
Yeah, they're there.
I'm like way over there.
Sitting on top of the printer.
Yeah, I'm there. Did you say that?
He's going to confuse himself again.
Oh, is that why he's still recused? I was like, why is he hanging back here?
Let's see. This one.
Okay, let's move right along. 7:20. Hearing continued, petition number 982, RJ LLC, 0314 Plymouth Street.
P14. On Plymouth Street.
Is this the storage?
Yeah, this is it, right?
This one, which is
Yeah.
314? No?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
349. We have a letter from SEA Sylvia Engineering, March 5th, 2023. Town of Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. 30314 Plymouth Street, special permit. Dear board members, on behalf of our client, R&J LLC, Sylvia Engineering Associates, SEA, I request that the scheduled public hearing of March 13, 2023 be continued to the meeting scheduled for April 10th, 2023. This request be allowed time for the planning board's peer review to be completed and the planning board to act on the special permit and site plan approval. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Lawrence P. Sylvia. Petition number 982. Would like to talk about it?
Sure.
Okay.
Try to adjust this a little bit Sorry.
Ask them to do something, I believe. Change the facade.
Okay, I apologize about that. Sorry. I'm Frederick McCarthy from Vertical Fields Capital. We're here tonight as owner's representative representing R&J LLC, Robert and Joseph Peck, owners of the property. The current property is zoned business, but that does not allow for self-storage. Hence, we're here seeking a special permit to make the use self-storage. As you said, this is a continuation of the meeting that we started on October 3rd of 2022. So I guess I'll make a quick synopsis of what I presented in October. Right here is the project. So back in 2021, there was another self-storage developer, not us, was looking to acquire the property from R&J, and they were planning on doing self-storage. And so my partner and I, when Rob and Joe, hired us, we went back and we looked through all the minutes of the zoning board and the planning board, and it seemed like the prior project was rejected for 3 reasons. So we went back to the drawing board and redesigned the project with those 3 reasons in mind to hopefully make it palatable for the community. So the first issue was the fact that it was going to be a large building. It was going to be 60,000 square feet right on Plymouth Street. So what we've done is we've actually redesigned it. It's going to be now 8 buildings, 7 of which are single-story, direct access, non-climate controlled self-storage. They're approximately 4,000 or 4,500 square feet each. The 8th building is 18,000 square feet. It's the only one that's 2 stories. It's going to be internal access, climate controlled. You basically be accessing the building from a bay on here on the back side of the property. This is actually the front entrance up here, and this is the golf course back here. So it's set back. The second issue is the fact that this large building was going to be right on Plymouth Street. So we've set the whole project back. The closest building to Plymouth Street, which is Building A, is 400 feet away. And obviously the rest of the buildings are even greater than 400 feet setback from Plymouth Street. And all along the entranceway will be bushes, and all along the front will be bushes and arborvitaes. So it'll be also, those will be obstructing the view of the buildings. And finally, right here you have the O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's the bank. Here's Ms. Alger's home. So there's other existing buildings that will be blocking the view of this project. So, and then the final third thing was, that would seem to be an objection, was the building proposed by the other developers was going to be mostly metal and glass, kind of a modern industrial look that most people thought was not in keeping with the historical downtown of Halifax. So these 8 buildings will be metal buildings, but they will all be done in kind of the board and batten style, and they will all be painted the New England barn red. When we were here previously in October, only these top 3 buildings, which face the road, were going to be painted the barn red, and the other buildings were going to be painted white. Bert Gaynor asked us if we could make them all red, and so we've redesigned this as now they're all going to be all the New England barn red. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of what the project is. And then, I don't know if there's any questions on that. So, back in October 3rd, the meeting was continued. Basically, you said, hey, we recommend you go to planning board first to get site plan approval before returning to zoning. So basically, in the last few months, this is what we've done. So on February 14th of 2023 of this year, we went before the Conservation Commission. They obviously made a number of comments and recommendations to our water management plan, but ultimately they asked us to come back based on receiving site plan approval from Planning Board. On March 2nd, we went before the Planning Board, And the planning board basically decided, and it was a 2-hour meeting, it was very lively, there was a lot of questions and answers from the planning board, there was a lot of questions and answers from the citizens, some of which are in this room. And so at the end of that meeting, it was decided that the project would be passed on to peer review for the engineering. So the town of Halifax engaged, I can never say this correctly, PCB Engineering. On March 15th, PCB Engineering basically submitted a letter to us with 17 different comments. On March 27th, Larry Silva responded to that letter, obviously trying to address all 17 of those comments. On April 3rd, PCB responded to Larry Silva's letter with their second letter with a few outstanding items. Last week, on Thursday, April 6th, we went again before the planning board, and ultimately the planning board approved the site plan, conditional upon basically 4 things. One of which is receiving the use variance from the zoning board. 2 is receiving approval of the water management plan from Conservation Commission. 3, going back and addressing those few open items from the PGP engineering letter. And 4th, having finalized the easements with Mrs. Alger. So ultimately, here we are today, again, hoping to receive the variance for the use permit from zoning board. Tomorrow, we're going before the Conservation Commission again to hopefully get final approval on the water management plan. On April 20th, we'll be going back before the planning board again to address these open issues with PGB's letter. And ultimately, we have the easements in place. The easements are being worked out with Mrs. Alger and her attorney, and ultimately, those easements will be subject to this project going forward because we wouldn't want to give us the easements unless we were doing this. So that kind of brings us to where we are this evening.
One addition is that one of the conditions was also that the giant arborvitaes would be planted along the front face of where the building is. That would be between Mrs. Alger's house and the 2-story building. Those require, as these easements are being worked out, those require a planting easement in order to be able to put them there. And that the other item was that the maintenance of the ditch is something that is also conditioned in the planning board's approval and so forth. So there's a real emphasis on making sure that the drainage is taken care of very well, making sure that the direct abutters like Mrs. Alger are taken care of and made sure that the provisions are such that she will not be impacted by it. And so those were kind of minor items enough that they were okay with giving a conditional approval in order to be able to just address those. We've already talked to Mr. Brennan about those minor changes that were left, and we will have buttoned everything up by the April 20th meeting. They will release those conditions at that point because we will show that we addressed everything that was still left on the plate. They were just minor housekeeping kind of things. The other item that I did want to talk to, though, is that there was a lot of care taken to make sure that from lighting, from fencing, from all the things that you would want to see at this facility and the things that you wouldn't want to see at this facility, no outside storage. So it's not like somebody's going to go by and see vehicles parked out in there and so forth. There's none of that, and it's managed on site. The office is located here at the end of the entrance driveway, so everything's controlled from a security gate in this area here. We've addressed fire department comments about access and so forth to get in to be able to respond to any kind of issue that may occur. And quite honestly, my history with storage facilities, they're really a quiet user. You know, it's kind of, when people put stuff in there, it's a little bit of inertia. Rest unless there's a real need to move things around. So there's not like there's a lot of activity. There's not a lot of traffic in and out. It's really, it's kind of a quiet kind of use. And so I think that we've taken a lot of time to make sure that it's done right. so that we address the kind of comments that you folks had asked about, and to make sure that we satisfied both the planning board and their consultant. So with that, though, we'd answer whatever questions that you might still have.
It will have actually a positive impact on the municipality as far as the water and the drainage is concerned.
Because they're gonna take a lot of water right directly to the golf course. So there's been a lot of water that'll bypass things that used to find its way through sort of grass kind of channels will be directed directly to the golf course. So there'll be less flow going in her direction and more going towards the golf course. And then golf course wants the water, really used for irrigation and so forth.
I know this has been a problem all along for you, so it's very important that she is satisfied that this water condition is taken care of.
Yeah, it's been my number one priority since I started working on this, even back when it was the condominium project. It's not a good project if it's just a good project for the developer. It has to be a good project for those that have to live with it after it's done.
Does the entrance of this project here line up with the traffic light?
Yes, it does.
It does.
That was one of the items that came out of the previous discussions as it related to the condominium project, was because it was sort of an offset there. And in this case, it's not an offset. It lines up with it.
Okay, I'm glad that was addressed.
Yeah,
That was a big problem.
Well, we tried to
Yeah.
listen. We tried to listen to all the items and make sure that we addressed all the items. And we're even handling some of that flow that comes in off the street that was from basically just drain lines that came off of Plymouth Street that were just dumping back there. And they were going through the O'Reilly property and dumping out in the back. We're taking those and swaling those through and routing those through so that those are managed where they were being managed before. They were just dumping.
Have questions?
I'm trying to find the write-up of what the variances are that they're looking for. It's
I
not.
don't see it yet. I don't see
Yeah,
it
right.
in the public notice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see it either.
I believe it's just a use variance.
It's a special permit, not a variance, correct?
Correct.
A special permit, just a special permit for the use. It's a
Right.
business use, but requiring a special permit.
Anyone in the audience while we're looking at this? Yes, Bert.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. What is the use going to be? What by our definitions is it coming under? How are you guys viewing it? As a light industrial, as a commercial, as
I think storage is listed under light industrial.
light industrial? And thank you. And my second question is going to be any access at all? We've touched upon this before. On the driveway that's going back with the security gate, there isn't going to be any access from the private driveway into, well, what would be Nezrella's old farm stand site. There's no curb cuts going from the driveway into, is it no shared driveway with the property next door?
There is a curb connection because they're not going to have two side-by-side driveways in that area, so that they will be using the lights for their project. But they have a curb opening along that driveway that allows for them to route into their site, because we don't generate any traffic. There's really no traffic associated with this.
Right.
So there is the ability, because I think that they had been before one of the boards, and there was some concern about stacking of any vehicles and how they might affect that intersection and so forth. So I can't speak for them because they have to come before and get their own use, their own permits and so forth. But there is a provision to allow for a connection which is located.
Up by the light?
There was one up towards there, but yeah.
This is going to be 2 in, 2 out.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but there was also down here, there was a possibility that they could join in depending on what happened with their other petitions.
Because you go by the shared driveway, common driveway. So the use of it for the lot.
Let's just see if they have something else.
might have a problem with. But the only curb cut, this is 3 curb cuts there now. One Plymouth
These are all just the
Street, and
buildings.
you're putting in the 4th one on
I
the
think the only
drive.
one to see up there is something maybe up front.
They're gonna have the one right for public safety.
Tony needs to see an idea, they're not gonna
And be able to get in and out
look at this
of
existing
that property.
bank,
But they have their own,
existing on the parts.
and their plans are here. I don't even have a copy of those most recent plans.
Doesn't even look
But
right.
they have their own curb openings also.
Not on the drive.
They have one that connects to the driveway.
So then they're gonna
This is
use
a-
your
this is
driveway
why.
to access those 2 lots.
Existing bank.
Could, yes.
They could.
So therefore,
That's the residence bank, so this is what's coming out. I don't think they
To
should.
be able
Show
to
the
take
covenant seal.
advantage.
yeah.
We don't have the drawing that he has.
What about, we do have Jerry, I think we do have a bylaw that says that specifically addresses shared driveways, or, so that's what they're doing, is they're using the traffic light driveway
Driveway.
to access the
next
lots.
project.
There might be residential homes.
That was for residential,
I
wasn't it?
believe so,
Is
yeah.
that even a shared driveway if they have their own? If we're just allowing them access if they want to use it?
It's
I
not,
think
they're not
that's
dependent on that driveway.
I think that's for homes.
And the
Residential
common
homes.
driveway,
I don't
I think
remember
is,
saying residential.
yeah, it's, I believe that in the zoning, I believe that's what it relates to.
Are any of these buildings over 15,000 square feet?
There is one.
Yes.
That's the 2-story climate control.
Shared drive.
It's actually 18,000 square feet, so just a little bit over.
So, how many, if they're gonna share the parking, would it be
It's
with
not,
the
it's not on the email I gave us either.
It's not this one.
No,
when
they
they're
have their
gonna?
own. They they don't have an exit there, they come right out. And more or less near the bank,
Yeah.
I think that's where they exit. Like inside the bank.
So where's the shared drive coming from?
What they're talking about
With the
here
other,
is that
with the other,
would be on this side.
on the other side of there?
So the possibly talking is, there'd be a shared driveway down this way.
No,
yeah.
okay.
On this side.
See, all this here is to the, if you're looking at it, that'd be to the right. So they're gonna talk to the left.
To the left.
Where Nazarello's is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the side they're talking to.
Continuation request. This is 314 Main Street. Special permit. That's a different one. Sorry, I'm trying to find the public hearing notice here, because it's not in our files.
Is that
It's not on the,
It's not in the packet.
That's all I have is the agenda.
only
It's in October.
the email from in October.
That's the other, that's why, that's partially that.
So now you would have the original.
I think we
Which would be
We
the
have a
variance.
continuation request on the 13th of December. Sorry.
Oh, well, look at why the original notice of a hearing, it's not in the packet.
Special permit.
So 014. Is that the one?
Notice is not in the bottom.
1213. Is that this one?
All the way down. So there's start down. The latest plans are the January plans, right? Yes.
Well, I had this one is this one? This is more genuine.
Oops.
This one has a
So we have a memo for it on
public hearing.
30.
Okay,
It's going to tell us what they're looking for as far as a...
yeah. The meeting to the Halifax, and we have clear stuff. No, it's not this one.
It's not that one either.
This is from the meeting minutes.
No, it's this one. I should find it.
So they asked him until February 13th. So now Eileen is still here.
So it's a light industrial use that they need a special permit for.
And as it was stated in the agenda, that it's a special permit for light industrial storage in the business zone. There's a special permit.
Does the lot have 150 feet of continuous frontage?
Yes, it does.
It has 50 feet on the front, from the front obviously, 30 feet from the side, it looks like.
Yes, all
Yeah.
buildings.
40 feet from the rear, looked.
Yes.
But the parking spaces, I think that was where you started counting 26 from. And the building heights are 40 feet?
I'm sorry, the maximum is 40 feet, it's like 34, 6. It was one of the questions that the peer reviewer asked, and we satisfied in one of his responses that it comes out to 34 and a half, I believe it is.
What percentage of the lot coverage is there? Is it still on?
Building coverage is 17.6%.
Yeah, it's 5.75 acres of total area, and what's the actual footprint, because gross floor is 49.2.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, the max is 25, so
Yeah,
it's-
yeah, we're way under that.
Wait a second, I provided a cheat sheet. Yep. Sorry. Yeah, go for it. You can find stuff in here. Good luck. That table. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just.
No, go right ahead.
What are we going to see from the street?
You're not going to see anything. The only thing you're going to see is a nice facade with trees and bush in front of it, and it's going to look like a bond-like structure. And that's 400 feet back from the street.
And you're saying that there are thick arborvitaes on the far
And
end.
the two-story is
Yeah.
a giant. One of the conditions is giant arborvitaes to be planted. But it has to be, for that to go in, they have to be planted with, obviously, by Mrs. Alger's permission, along that edge, right at the edge of where her property abuts it. Because there isn't enough room on that side to do it on the property itself.
Yeah. But
That's if
That's this one?
she declines to want it,
Yeah.
then that's then it
And
would
the
happen.
area
But if she wants it, and I think it would be a good thing, is just to put it along that stretch.
But the trees don't go all the way along that lot line, it's just at a certain spot, right?
That's just to block the two-story part of it,
Okay.
But there are
to take
bushes,
that off.
there's bushes all along the whole driving access.
And then
bushes
one
along
of the
front
faces
side
in here.
That's it,
Buildings.
And then there's buildings, this is obviously O'Reilly Auto Parts, this is the
Yeah.
bank.
Yeah.
And, this is obviously 400 feet greater than a football field.
Yeah.
And these other buildings are even set further back.
And like I say, no outside storage. These spaces that are shown, there are a few spaces that are
Yeah.
near the office,
Yeah.
okay, for doing business and for employee. And then
there's
there
back
are
of the
some
building.
spaces right in this area here, next to the one loading area that goes into the building. So as it pertains to any of the abutters, there's no activity happening on these three sides of that building. It's only on the golf
Where the
course
parking spots
side
are? Yeah.
where the loading takes place, going in there.
And so people will be going in there into to units inside the building.
Inside there, they're climate controlled in that building.
And the
All the
rest of
others
them
are
are just kind of the open garage doors?
That's correct. And even on those, the buildings that are, on this building here, and this one here, they're just, the exposure is on the project side, not on the other side of the road.
Okay. What's the, what would the plan be for, and I don't think the company will do this, I think maybe the renters of the units might do it. What would the plan be for
Yeah.
stuff that gets left outside of those units, or stuff that's just dropped outside? or-
It can't be dropped outside, because it's being managed. There's somebody, there's a manager there at all times. There's cameras within the facility itself. Somebody's just not leaving stuff there. I mean, if they don't, you can speak to what happens on an
But yeah,
abandoned.
Yeah, right.
ultimately they get charged a dump fee.
Okay.
So they sign a legal
There's a plan for
agreement
that.
saying they're not going to do it.
Okay.
And then if they do it, we obviously have cameras all over the facility, so we can find a recording of who dumped their black leather couch on the sidewalk.
Okay.
As you probably know, most people aren't going to move it that far away from their unit to begin with.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, we charge them a dump fee, and then we move it presumably into an empty unit, and then ultimately have to just get carted away.
Okay. And how wide is the road down to the gate? So the gate's down at the bottom of the road there, right?
Gates,
Like at the entry point?
Yes.
Yeah. So how wide is that road?
These are minimums of, these are 25 in this, these are 24 in this area here. It's a minimum of 24 anywhere. In some cases, it's 30. It's 30 on the end, 30 on the back end. Minimums of 25 anywhere else on the site.
And is there, I guess my real question is it just for traffic, or there's areas for people to pull over further down the road? Because that's a little bit of my concern too, right? People didn't
What do you mean,
use
down
that.
here? It becomes 2 lanes down here.
Yeah.
They're separated lanes in this area here. So when you get down in this area here, there's a turn lane, there's a straight lane, and there's the ability to turn.
Yeah, to be honest, my concern is it seems like you guys have a plan to keep people from parking back there or just hanging out back there because of the gate.
Oh, yeah.
But from the road to the gate, I don't want people using it as a spot to pull their car over or, do all that stuff.
It's not secluded. I mean, there's lights along the driveway itself. There's lighting along the driveway and cameras as well.
You've got a manager's office there, so obviously they've got access and visibility from both personal visibility as well as cameras down that driveway.
Yeah,
So
it's not,
if someone parked and was idling for a while, they'd go say, "Excuse me, this is a
it
place of
wasn't.
business."
It's not a thing where you bring fence down this way and put the security down here. The security gate to get into the facility is just where the office is, right there. That's
I
what.
think in the same line you're talking about, and what's happened in not a lot of other storage areas, but at Patriots, it could be a Patriots Day game here. People they've rented storage facilities to have a cookout, have the game day instead of going to Gillette Stadium, because it's a lot easier to set up here, have your cookouts going on. Is that something you allow in here, or you would?
No, we would not allow that at all. Yeah, again, when you become a customer, you actually sign an agreement that says you won't do certain things like store flammables, have gas, have stoves, things like that, number one. Number two, your minimum amount of storage days is a month. So it's, so if someone wanted to have one day of a Patriots game, but they'd have to rent for the whole month, so it's kind of an economic incentive not to do that. And again, we have monitors there to make sure that doesn't happen. And as Rob was saying, kind of, I guess, back in March at the planning board meeting, R&J also owns a golf course. So they've got a strong incentive to make sure there's no shenanigans going on here, that the buildings look pretty and good, because they got to make sure that they're still appealing to the golf course customers as well.
What comparable size-wise, the number of buildings and units? Is there something around here that's comparable in size?
So total, this is gross, about 49,000 square feet. The two here, the Cube Smart, which is obviously smaller, and then there's the Route 107. They're both smaller, so you probably have to go to Bridgewater or somewhere else to
You won't
find
find it in Bridgewater.
In Brockton, Drury.
Where is that?
There's one on 18 in Abington.
18 in Abington is one I did. It's like near Whitman line there?
Yeah.
See, I think I did that in the 1980s. If I recall, that's probably about, it was like originally I did it without the climate control building, which was added later. I think the original one was like 35,000 square feet, and then they added the climate control. So that's probably comparable now to the size, about that.
So this is a unusually big space compared to others.
No, so
That's why I'm asking.
you're right. So
For a small town. it's
about
big.
45,000 is kind of the unofficial cutoff between institutional grade and not institutional grade. So larger than 45,000 is typically institutional grade. By institutional grade, there's basically 4 or 5 large publicly traded REITs, Public Storage, Extra Space, Cube Smart, Life Storage, that will basically do third-party management. And ultimately, obviously you have owners here, but, the large pension funds and life insurance companies and typical companies that end up owning this type of product, so both the managers and the owners look for something that's 45,000 or greater. So that's kind of their floor. So I've seen, obviously it wouldn't be here, but I've seen projects that are 150,000 square feet. So anything
in this
below,
area, that is
We have
prices
one that
was-
we're in the planning of in Bridgewater, which is going to be about 100,000 square feet, and then in front of it's going to be an East Hardware. That's on Route 18 near Prisco's, where LeMay's used to be, LeMay's Fireplace.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that whole site there.
and so that,
But that's a fairly large one. I think that's too big for what the market might be, but that's what they're choosing to do.
Yeah, that's a thinking.
and I was going to say, so Extra Space is the second largest publicly traded self-storage facility or company that's typically considered best in class, the number one. We were lined up to have them branded and do daily third-party management for us. So they know from looking at their properties in Pembroke and Kingston and other places around that the self-storage demand is there. So they don't want to put their brand and reputation on a project that's then going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Yes.
Mr. Nezrela was using that property. He had 4 entrances, all of which were not marked, and you had a dramatic crisscrossing of traffic right there on 106, turning left and right, and east and west, traveling in both directions. But that property is now owned by new owners, except now they're looking to put 4 different businesses in there. When it first came up before the town, they were going to have that entrance right straight across from Stop and Shop's entrance where the light is, which is a great idea because now you have light control entrance to that property. Now, the very next property headed east is that small shopping plaza that has the one entrance, and you've got all of those businesses in there that share that entrance. So why shouldn't this property, because it's still owned by the one party, but they're going to have a number of businesses in there, why shouldn't that all come off at that traffic light instead of having that traffic light for the storage building and then open up 3 more entrances for the other businesses coming in?
I
That
think he
sounds
is.
like,
The traffic light is there.
I know it is there.
But I'm not here for that project next door.
I
So
know
when
you're
that
not.
comes up, and if you
Yeah, we'll talk.
have to talk about those driveways and what you want, what you don't want, that would be appropriate at that time, but it has nothing to do with this project.
It has nothing to do with you. I'm talking to the zoning board relative to, shouldn't they consider that because that's all one property, down the road, when it comes back up, for the rest of the businesses that want to go in there, that be the entrance instead of having all of this crisscrossing of traffic without a traffic light.
That would have to be looked at. I mean, we couldn't make a decision on that right now, but that would certainly be something that would be looked at overall. Whether that could even happen, that would be something further on, but that's nothing to do with this property right now.
This is a separate property.
It is, yes. Yeah.
And the arborvitae's that they're putting in there, in case this board doesn't realize it, those giant arborvitae's that they're, said they're gonna put in will grow to be 52 feet high. So that building will not even show back there if they plant them 10 feet apart and just let them grow. But they haven't stipulated yet what size, or at least I haven't heard what size they're gonna put in there initially.
That is, well, what size they are initial planting,
Yes,
I don't know as though it was actually identified in that, but when the planning board finishes out that condition, that's something that should be specified.
it will be addressed, I'll be there.
What size are you suggesting?
You can do anything. You can buy them 20 feet high already if you're looking at $1,100 a tree, okay? But when you're looking at this size project, $1,100 is a drop in the bucket, okay? If you're gonna satisfy the vision of what the neighborhood wants to look at for that particular building. And most of that project is hidden behind the auto parts store and the bank, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
You've got basically the driving. So to satisfy everybody else with that taller building, then spend a couple of bucks and put in some taller trees, which you can buy through Bay State Nursery.
That's been the commitment to do that. We just haven't talked about what that initial size was, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Just a question, I don't think I've caught it in any of the other meetings with planning board and stuff. Looks like you've done a lot of work to make it look, fit in with the community and hidden back there. But what about signage up front?
Okay,
Will
so
the sign kind of fit into the community, or will it be like a giant self-storage?
No, so it'll be, and we actually had that last time we were here, sorry, in terms of the spec of what the sign will look like. So it's going to be a totem sign, so, you you typically see on the highway, a sign that's held on both sides. It'll say extra space storage. Do you have a spec?
The architect wasn't with us tonight. There was a set of architectural plans that were in here.
But obviously, it's compliant with the zoning code of Halifax.
I'm just thinking like being lit up like driveways, it sounds like it's will be more fitting in.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Right down.
It's a pylon sign. It'd be to the left of the driveway coming in at light.
Yeah, that sign initially is going to be addressed by the planning board.
Yeah.
There's a whole set of bylaws.
Oh, yeah. It'll take you a week and a half to read all the bylaws and signs.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Any other questions? Okay, the pleasure of the board.
I'd like to see the public hearing notice.
Say that again?
Public hearing notice. See exactly what was applied for. They need a special
wasn't-
permit for one of the buildings and the use.
The guy looking, was it on January 9th, I believe?
No, it's
Original
original.
application was
October.
7th.
And you don't have a copy of that.
Oh, the original, no, I looked at my, wherever I put my phone.
We've looked at the, trying to go back in time.
Yeah, we tried.
You don't have your files for that?
It's missing. From what we can see.
I mean, it might be in here, but I'm not finding it.
We're still-
I mean, the continuation and what you posted tonight is what it was for. It was for just that, the special permitted use, which is what that,
But you have a building,
continuation.
you have a building that requires a special permit also.
That's not from you guys. That's a special permit from the planning board.
Yeah.
I believe that's true.
What's that?
That's correct.
That is correct. That's a special.
That was on there.
Now, we've already discussed that with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
ready
I
to
think they came to
issue
us
that, but
first,
they
and then-
wanted to have the conditions that.
Yeah, I see.
that
You looked that way.
Brennan was asking for to be on the final set of plans, and after we had the approval from you folks, for them
Yeah.
to do that. They don't want to issue the special permit for the size of the building until
Right,
you
right.
generate the approval for the use. That's why it was described by one of the members there that we're in the hamster wheel of death, which means that you go between all these boards.
Sorry. I want to double up.
So accurate.
Isn't that what the comment was?
Peter, October 9th.
And light industrial
October
is
9th.
Marlena.
in a business zone, correct?
Yes.
Jerry, you just wanted that.
Yeah.
October 4.
Building department.
Everything that we have followed
Yeah, and I
was
think
from an
that's
initial
the plan.
zoning determination from the building
They apply
inspector,
in
who
September.
set the roadmap out as to what the permit
Yeah, there's
requirements
also
were.
a request to continue the special permit hearing for the
I would have
storage.
brought all my files, because that's like too
The
much.
request to
This is too
approve
much.
You need some storage for it.
Correct.
They say my plants make good firewood.
That's what you're looking for?
Yeah, okay, the package, let's see, which one?
I'm looking at the off-street parking. We talked about that, but this isn't a retail or office space.
Barely
think it
read those
qualifies.
things, look at that.
Because it's light industrial.
On the first page here, the off-street parking, under 167-14H, parking requirements, for employee, 2 spaces, first space, 2,000 square feet for 20,000 gross square foot, 10 spaces. Second is 1 space for every 10,000 gross square foot, that's 3 spaces. So the total required is 15 spaces, total provided is 19 spaces, including 1 accessible.
The entrance of the building, handicap accessible.
To see if there's a bill. 'Cause this would give us 167.
It will. If your options for tonight, just out of curiosity here, can you either vote on it tonight, or can you vote to close the public hearing and then
Right.
have, what is it? Is it 30 days or 90 days to?
I think it's 90 days from when we
90
close
days
the
to
public hearing.
close
Yeah.
the public hearing.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at with this today.
Could I ask
So
why
what-
that would be? I mean, what is there that's still
What is that?
outstanding since
What are we
last
looking for?
October? We've done everything that
Yeah, I
we've
think what
asked
they're
for.
looking for right
We
now.
provided
What are
everything
we
in
supposed to
order
be
to get to
voting on
this
tonight?
point.
Yeah,
And I think that we've got 2
They're
things.
looking to try to get a
Slight
project
regulations.
started in the spring here. A 90-day timeframe to
Or,
determine whether or not you will
like
give a special permit for the use
so
of
others
storage is really what we're asking for.
Can we get this
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be done.
to the zoning bylaw?
Right, so I think
So we don't,
to that discussion, I think we were just talking about what our options were. I don't think we were,
That's all, yeah.
I mean, one of the options is vote on it tonight. Right?
Yeah, this, I think this
Yeah.
explains what I need to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think that's right. We're given a special permit for light industrial usage.
Right, yeah.
In a business zone.
so question, is the main building is
So
handicap
we have 2
accessible?
things we're gonna get
Yes.
approval.
Right.
One would be light industrial use, if we approve that. And then the second thing is the 25,000 square foot.
That's plan board.
But this is still 167-713 of the zoning bylaws.
Yeah, but I think with the building and all that stuff, I think that's what they're.
Okay, so we're voting on right now.
This is already, I think, a special permit on days. So I think we need to put it point that.
119.
to either close the public hearing or we need to make a decision.
All right. I mean, the one we vote on, the industrial use. I think
Yeah, I think that's the only
sure
thing
now,
that
right now, that's what we can vote
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I mean, from your perspective, there's no other question for us to be voting. I'm looking at your application. It's whether or not we're granting a special permit for,
Correct.
you had said
Yes.
variance at one point.
Right. My apologies, my
But I think
apologies.
that's, you were just
Right.
saying
Confusing.
that. So, I mean, from my perspective, it seems, it seems like you guys have done a ton of work. It seems like you took some time from when we met last time. I had mentioned some stuff that I was concerned about. It sounds like you did a lot of work to try and address those concerns. I think it sounds like you've done the same thing with the planning board. From I think from my personal perspective, but also the history of the zoning board is it's a big project for the center town, and so I think that the hesitation that I think that I have, and I think that probably everybody's asking questions about, is because it's a large project. There are other lots that are going to be contentious in the future, so we're trying to be thoughtful and prudent about the decisions we're making. I also know that there's been a bunch of different thoughts and processes about what's supposed to be going on in that 5-acre lot or whatever it is. And I think that you've tried to give it some thought as to what we were doing. So, I mean, that's kind of where I stand with it. I don't know where everybody else is at with it.
I mean, we could take a vote on the industrial use, and we could also put the same conditions that the planning board did, that our approval is on their passing all of the...
Yeah, I don't think we can build it without, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how everybody else feels, but it is. Like at the bottom line, I appreciate all the work you put in, regardless of how the vote goes today. I appreciate all the listening you've done, the work you put in to try and make it, work for the neighbors and work for them, the arborvitae's and water flow and all that stuff. So, sorry.
I think you put a lot of thought in the project, keeping it within the character of the neighborhood. You care how it looks. Good use of the property, won't really increase traffic, which is great. I think that's on a lot of people's minds.
Correct. Adds to the tax roll, but it doesn't add to the traffic.
The problem in that little area. No, a lot of thought's been put into it.
You will improve a problem with water flow than it's always had for, I think, since the bank's gone in there, maybe longer.
What's the pleasure? Should we vote?
If anybody else has anything else they want to add.
All right, is there anything else, any other discussion, so we can wrap this up? No?
Site visit, make a motion to waive the site visit, like we're all for the property for a while.
Yeah.
Site visit is...
Site visit's waived.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Yeah.
I made a motion to waive the site visit.
I'll
Second.
Waive it?
Oh,
Yes.
well, second. You second?
You
You second.
Yes.
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 All right. And we've waived the site visit.
Yeah.
Shall we vote on light industrial use? Does someone want to make a motion on that?
Make a
Let me see,
motion.
we want what conditions would be
Planning board approval.
Architecturals.
Yeah. Conservation?
updated plans from January 20th, I think is what the
Yeah.
January 20th.
conservation approval.
And Mrs. Alder's approval?
Put the condition on it.
Planning board approval.
May I ask a question? Obviously, planning board said our approval is predicated on getting zoning board to approve the
Right,
special
so-
permit, so.
No, somebody's gonna do something. So what I'm trying to figure out is the conditions we would have on a motion to approve this, which it would be approved as long as it's planning approval. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah, okay.
Because if the motion passes, it would approve with that sitting there.
One other condition I'd like to add, I know you've already mentioned no outside storage.
Correct.
As also
Yeah.
just add that as a condition.
No large party.
Otherwise, then the plans are all pretty clear and everything, right?
Yep.
As long as you guys are okay with this, I think we've talked about this already, but the conditions in the motion would be the architectural style on all the buildings that you mentioned. Everything's according to the updated plans on January 20th. It would be pending, I think it would be anyway, but pending approval from conservation and from the planning board, and the easement from the Alchers, and then no outside storage on the property. Is that all seem reasonable?
Yeah,
Yes.
oh yeah, those are the same things that.
That's the stuff I think you've been working on.
Just so we're all on the same page.
Right.
Very consistent.
Is there anything from the planning board or from any, like, I don't know?
That was the same thing, I think we addressed the shielded lighting and the
Yes.
hours of operation, septic system, I do believe was already approved, there's only
Yeah, that's all in here.
one single office
Yeah.
bathroom. And
Yeah.
so that, and other than, was it, how many was it, 16 or 17 contingencies from the peer review?
Yeah, there was like a couple that were.
PC,
Yeah.
Yeah.
PCG,
Yes.
elemental.
Until he's satisfied, they won't actually sign the site plan.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, which is fine.
I mean, from my perspective, we've looked at a bunch of different things that were going to go in there. A couple of them I was concerned about. I think that the owners of the property have listened to us. I want to be pro-business in town. I want to be, and I want to allow something to go in there. I think this is a thoughtful plan to put forward on this. So I'll make a motion to approve petition, what the heck?
982.
Petition number 9, it's right in front of me, number 982, with the conditions on the, that the buildings be built in the architectural style that was presented for each building. The plans are based on the updated plans we got on January 20th, and there'd be no outside storage on the property, and of course pending the approval from conservation, the planning board, and the easement from the Algers. Anything else I'm missing in there?
No, I think you got
You
it.
got it all.
Do we have a second?
If you want to make mention of the planting of
The trees?
specifically the large, the giant arborvitae's,
And the arborvitae's in front
I will
of.
buy this.
and the signing of the easements
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's- yeah.
I said
to
that.
the altar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll add as a condition the arborvitae's to be planted in front of the two-story building at the corner of the Algers lot. So,
We have a second?
Yes, second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. It's approved.
Thank you so much.
5-0.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Moving right along. 7:40.
Yeah. We're doing good.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I promise I will be bringing piles of plans in.
All right, moving on to petition number 984.
Special permission was raised. 94.
Coming back?
Hi, Kelsey.
I know, ever?
She fell asleep.
Welcome.
You having a good time back there watching the show? Yes, she gets there.
That's where the plans were.
The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 9th, 2023 at 7:05 PM
That's right.
in the Board of Selectmen's Meeting Room, Halifax, Mass. Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application of James Rodriguez for a special permit and variance to raise, rebuild, and expand a damaged structure located at 9 Lake Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by James Rodriguez of 9 Lake Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338, as shown on Assessors Map 20, Lot 1533, Book 47552, page 91. The applicant is seeking a special permit to raise, rebuild, and expand a damaged, non-conforming structure in accordance with the Town of Halifax zoning bylaws, Chapter 167-8A. Continuation, 167-8C. Extension, and 167-8D. Restoration by adding a second story to a portion of the structure. Per the building inspector, the proposed dwelling exceeds 50% of the original area, exceeds the original height, and is closer to the street. The applicant is also seeking a variance to reduce the foundation height required in accordance with the Town of Halifax zoning bylaws, Chapter 167-10, general density, regulations, area zone, residential petition, number 984.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
When last we met was February, and there was some concern at the time in February about the variance requests. So I had my engineer, and I apologize, I only have 5 copies of the plans here.
Don't worry, I have plenty of paper here.
But I had him draw up some new plans, specifically to eliminate the variance on the front that the building inspector was concerned with, the height of the foundation to the top of to the center line of the street, which I was anxious about. So there are now no variances on the request, really for a special permit of the use. The second story isn't over the entire property, it's just over a portion. And I don't have the specifications on with me at the moment, but I believe it was about 550 square feet. It's not a huge building. It's in keeping with some of the other 2-story house on both sides of me on Lake Street. And it's been a problematic property that was damaged a number of years ago, and I'm just getting around to getting a special permit for it. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have on it. I think we've kind of beaten it to death. That issue was really the crux of it came down to whether I can expand the structure by adding a second story on a portion
Last
of
time you wanna change the structure.
it. Everything now is pretty much within the footprint of the building, aside from addition of a small closet in the front along the same setback line. Effectively, it increases the rear setback, and it increases one side setback from what they were. They had the side setback, the rear setback was at 1.4 feet, and it's now 2.5 feet. The side setback had been at 5.3 feet, and it's now at 5.6 feet. So it's less non-conforming after it's been rebuilt than it is now.
So now it's a single bedroom, right?
It's a one bedroom.
One bedroom?
Yeah. I have an office upstairs.
Okay.
There are no partition walls upstairs. It's all open.
Will that be living quarters later on?
I'm sorry?
You gotta turn it into a living quarters?
Not for me. I'll sell it first.
We're just making sure.
Well, I've got a deed restriction, so I'll have to pass muster with the building inspector for anything I do there, as well as the board of health.
I think our biggest thing last time you were in here was it was twisted a little bit, and you had it raised up, and it looks as though you solved both of those.
The engineer laid both on to show the spatial representation of the street
Right.
much cleaner.
But I think that was really our only issue. Well, my only issue.
So it's not closer to the street.
It is not.
It's the same. And there are no variances for the height requirement or for any of the setbacks.
So he's just gonna,
Everything is an existing non-conformity.
And it is going up, so it's exceeding the original height, right?
Yes, it is exceeding the original height.
But not by as much, right?
Well,
It's going up a story.
it's going up a half a story, yeah.
Right, but what he had done before is he had raised the height of the foundation, and we said, don't bother
the
with that.
foundation,
Yes,
yes.
yeah.
Right. There was a variance request for the foundation
Okay.
height.
Yeah, I said don't.
I abandoned that.
Okay.
Wise man.
And so let's see, 50%.
He's asking for a special permit, no variance.
Is that?
He's not asking for a variance.
Yep.
Less of a problem, huh? It's less of a problem, I know.
Yeah.
It's easy to go. Yeah.
We simply got this. Any questions? Oh, got a small house.
It's pretty straightforward.
Any questions from the audience? Board?
I think he took care of what he needed to do.
Yeah, it seems like now we're just asking for a special permit to renovate, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're also asking for a restoration, which you can't increase the height. You want to put a second floor?
That's why the building inspector requested a special permit.
Yes.
Just a question, both houses, two houses on the same lot, or they've been subdivided out into two separate lots?
There are two separate lots.
There are two separate lots?
Yeah, they were separated in 1993.
So you're doing the one...
And is there an easement or a right-of-way down to the water in there, on the property?
There is not to my knowledge.
Both belong to you?
I'm sorry?
Both belong to you?
I'm the trustee of the trust for one, and I'm the owner of the other. Yes, I am. My daughter is in one, and I'm in the other.
This is your house, that's it?
Yes, that's my house.
Are there any other houses in the area that have a second story or?
Well, the house to the, I guess to the house east to me is a fairly large house. That's a two-story. The house directly across from this is a single story. The house to the right of them is a three-car garage with a apartment over. Then there is the 13 Lake Street house, which is single-story. The next house is two-story. The house after that is a two-story.
Okay.
So it's
It's a
in
mix.
keeping.
Yeah. Okay.
When I was in front of the board in, I think it was 2017 maybe, they didn't have any concern with it fitting into the neighborhood. They thought the architecture was appropriate. They thought the size was appropriate. Whatever that is worth to you.
Was it for the same issue you were in front of the board? 2017?
It was not the same issue technically. This is a special permit. This is the result several years later of that discussion. I was
I misinterpreted the non-conforming bylaw.
Right? Any other question?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Further discussion?
Do you have any elevation drawings?
They were included in the original submission. But I don't have them with me. I assume they're in the file.
Look at the tiny picture again. No, it's just because of those 2 things.
Right.
Yeah, he's
Right.
he got rid of those.
Which is an open question. I think somebody else could see that differently. So, in his denial letter for the building permit, he was denied just for D, which is restoration. There's an argument that this might be an extension of non-conforming use by adding the story. It isn't for the feet, like the setbacks or anything like that. That's fixed. But I mean, he applied for a building permit with a second story, right? And the only thing the building inspector said was that he violated this, and he would need, and it doesn't exceed 50% of the original area, so I don't know why. Or did you change that?
I haven't changed it. I mean,
It's just within the description.
Well, no, the proposed dwelling exceeds 50% of the original area, which I don't think is true.
well, I think the original,
You were going to add to it to square it
The
up,
original
right?
plan had more. Is that what we're talking about?
I think it did.
I lost a lot of memory cells in them.
I think we all have.
As I understood it,
It's close to the street. It's no longer close to the street. From what I'm looking at, it does not exceed 50% of the original area, but it does exceed the original height by a half a story, you said.
yes.
And his response to that was that it is a restoration. Now, are you restoring the building, or are you...
Well, there was
Pick
a,
great words. That's why I'm asking.
it was a damaged structure
Okay.
that had a release of water, 162,000 gallons of water went through the foundation while I was on vacation in South Carolina. Weakened the floor, weakened the foundation. I got a building permit to remove drywall, to inspect the damage, to see what else was an issue. That prompted a building permit request to change the roof line and renovate the cottage, but the foundation was in such a state that it really needed to get replaced.
So this is a total restoration
Yes,
from the ground up?
yes, yes. It's served its
Beyond repair?
Yeah. You know,
He's raising it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a non-conforming building or structure which has been damaged or destroyed may be repaired or rebuilt, provided that restoration shall not exceed the original area by more than 50%, which it does not, and should be placed no nearer to the street line in the building or structure which restoration replaces, which is true. The third piece, which is the issue, is shall not exceed the original height. So
The height
I
has
guess
to
the
stay the
question,
same.
yeah, the question is, can we issue a special permit for that height, or does the bylaw say that it cannot, shall not?
The way it reads right there, you
I
cannot.
agree.
there's been a number of other approvals from the board for similar things, so that's why I thought the special permit route was the appropriate path to.
But the bylaw
whatever.
says not to exceed the original height.
Well,
If you want to rebuild it to the same footprint, the same height of that whatever that building was, when it was solid.
But I wouldn't need a special permit for
You
that.
wouldn't need a special permit. Now, now you're changing the height of the building.
And that's why he's asking us for a permit.
That's what he's asking us for.
Yeah, but
But we can't issue a special permit to build a skyscraper, because that's not in the bylaws, and
Right,
that's
but I
the
think
issue.
that, right, I understand that, but I don't
we,
think that's what he's asking for. I
we
think
do
he's-
that, we change the height on that.
And this, that's the question I asked,
Yeah.
is
So how high it's gonna be?
Well, again, the elevations were supplied,
It's
but
gonna be
I
half a
believe
story higher than
it's gonna be
what it was.
Half than what it was?
yeah, it's about,
Half a
it's about
story.
21,
Yeah, half.
21 feet from the foundation to the peak. I think when they measure roof heights, they use average height.
challenge.
They were in here last time and they were okay.
But,
Right.
um,
Right, that'd be nice.
And there's, like, there's several other houses on the street
What
that
I-
have more than one story.
Yeah, what I had gotten wrong in the last
And their
discussion,
Their original plans may have had 2 stories, right?
yeah, but again,
That's-
isn't why you
No, I know, I just feel
put
like-
up the board if we need a special
just feel like
permit, it's
we've
because the
gone to
bylaw
other
does
places
not
where there's
allow you to do
hardships, where there's a
something
lot
in
more
the first
space,
place.
where this has no additional space than to go up.
Yeah. So,
This is a hardship.
I
There's
have
no
a
hardship.
question. Isn't it why we come for a special permit? Because the bylaw does not allow certain things, so
No, that's a
therefore.
variance.
Huh?
That's a
That's a
variance.
variance.
So why he comes for a special permit? So he could go in, if he cannot build it to the same height as the bylaw said that we cannot do. So what other course of action he can do to make sure that he can build?
You can build it to the same height,
well, I think
So what about if it,
but he wants it an extra half a story high to put an office space upstairs.
as I was reading
office
the
space upstairs?
Mark Bobrowski commentary on the zoning bylaws, there were a number of big ambiguities that were in there.
No, there's tons.
Yeah,
There's a
And
lot.
one of those,
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
well, one of those was that you could change your roof pitch to whatever you'd like. And my confusion was that when you change your roof pitch, effectively you're adding space. And the building inspector said, no, you can't do that. You need a special permit to do that. So I don't need a special permit to
What's the building inspector?
to build the roof, but I need a special permit to use the space under it.
Well,
That's-
that's
what I'm
where the
hearing.
sticking part is, because in that bylaw, this is how it reads, and we're not talking, this is a totally separate issue from what we're talking about, but to your point, the bylaws say that you can increase the pitch, but it cannot expand the building horizontally or increase additional floor area. So
Correct.
the space underneath has no bearing on the pitch, so you can pitch it away. But you
Correct.
cannot create additional floor.
Up to the 40 feet.
Which is,
But you're-
what originally you wanted to do, which is what
So
the
as long as which is why I need the special permit to use space for the expansion of a non-conforming
Yeah,
structure. I'm just trying to keep it simple. I don't want.
So are you gonna increase the living space underneath the roof?
Yes, there is an addition of the second
floor.
Yes. Now, when I also read the bylaw, it says that I can expand the structure by 50%. But I can't get it closer to the street, and I can't get it any higher, which means that I can go back towards the lake.
But you need a variance.
But then I've created a new
problem, yeah.
conformity.
Created
And the
your own
hardship
hardship.
is the lake, because it's a drinking water lake, I have additional setbacks because it's a secondary drinking supply. So the hardship is just basically the
Could you rebuild that house on the way it is without adding a half a story? And be comfortable with it?
I think it's, I don't know that it's cost effective to do that, not that cost is an issue for you, but, I mean, it's a 650 square foot house.
Smaller.
It's going to need to be raised to the ground and with a new foundation. It's a substantial undertaking to try to correct it, given the constructs with the drinking water lake there and the lot configuration and the septic. I mean, you could certainly put something there, but I don't know that it wouldn't suit my needs. It's just,
I want to be 100% clear. I'm not bringing this up. I'm not bringing any of these issues up because I want to destroy your second story, or I take any joy at this. I have major concern that if we're approving something that we're not allowed to approve, someone will stop your building in the middle of you building it, and you will be in court, and there will be a whole conversation about whether this zoning board, and they'll sue you, and they'll sue the zoning board, and they'll sue a whole bunch of people saying that we approved a special permit that we couldn't, and then everybody's on Facebook talking about how we blah, 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 because that's what they do. And I'm trying, and in this meeting, with the camera and the microphone on, I want everybody to understand, like, I don't want to approve something we're not allowed to just because we want to.
Right.
And I would love to let you build that second story there, and I think what you're asking for is reasonable. I don't know if what you're asking for is allowed under the bylaw, and if we approve that, it's going to be a living hell for you and for this board going forward, because we just lived through that.
but just to be clear, I'm not relying on the restoration issue.
Okay.
I don't, the restoration was material 7 or 8 years ago. I moved past that on to, I want to rebuild my house. And I want to build a house that's in character with the neighborhood, and in keeping with the architecture of the neighborhood, and at a scale that's appropriate for the neighborhood.
And who really has no other space on the land. I feel like,
He just can go back.
yeah.
He cannot go.
Nope.
And that would be, arguably that would be a variance, right?
Can you go for a variance on that?
Well,
Reach out to town council.
Can you go to a variance on that?
I would think so. That's what's required.
what with the variance before, I'm confused.
Well,
For the height?
In a way, you're varying the bylaw for the height of the building.
Well, I'm asking for a special permit to build a...
But does a special permit cover what you're asking? That's I think our question.
Well, it has in the past. I don't know whether, I don't know.
I think that it's a building inspector that asking him to come and ask for a special permit.
Well, it's actually
That's not
permit
true.
or
But-
variance.
That's what he said.
The building inspector, because I thought
Yes.
that, right? So I read the letter, and all it says is your building permit is denied. Typically, in a letter, he wrote, your building permit is denied. If you need this, you need a special permit for blah, 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 blah. All he said was, your building
It's
permit
denied.
has been denied. It would violate this because of blah, blah, blah. If you wish to pursue this matter, you can go to the zoning board of appeals for an appeal.
And when
It doesn't say you need a special
But when we
permit.
spoke with him last, it was because he had raised the foundation.
Yep.
Oh, was it a foot and a half?
I'm going to have to go up, yeah.
I think it was a foot and a half, so
The variance.
that got you too high, so.
No, it wasn't too high.
No, it was closer to the, it was the
The variance
And
was
it
requested to go lower.
angle
Yeah,
that was
and we said
sticking to
straighten
the
it out
street,
and
yeah.
keep that at the same height and you'd be fine.
Basically, I'm asking to put a bigger structure on this.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a
So the variance is
variance.
special
I
permit.
think where we are right now is that I think we have to send a letter to the town council to look at this and find out if
Just
this
to
is
cover all of us.
Yeah.
something you can
But I
or
feel like
cannot
this
do.
should-
And is it a special permit or a
It is
variance?
special permit
Right,
or
or
variance. Because I think that's where it stands right now. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think all of us would like to give you this.
Yeah.
Because I think it's in character of the neighborhood, I think it goes.
Definitely be an
But
improvement.
we're into a technical problem here, and we've been hit by technical problems in the past, and no one wins. So I think if we send this here out and get a response from the town council saying, yes, you can do this, or this is how you can do it, I'm sorry to put you off again, but I think you'd be better off in the long run for us to get the correct answer and get you going in the right direction.
I've waited a few years now. I didn't think I requested a variance for anything,
Made it.
so that's my confusion. So if there's a variance request that I need to add, I'd need to know about that.
I think it's us finding out because it's like you're restoring it.
I don't even think we.
Well, I think the letter by the building inspector he's pretty much said no, and now we have to decide
But even to
how.
rebuild the structure, it's listed under restoration.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Even to rebuild it, it's listed under restoration.
We wanted
I
to, so we just
understand
want
what
to do
you
it
think of
right.
restoration, I think the same way, but even to rebuild, they're calling it a restoration.
Okay.
So let us just ask town council to make sure that none of us are going to be in hot water.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a
Do this
variance
the proper
request,
way.
I don't, my understanding of special permits was that they basically cover all bases. That if there's a variance request, you have to request that variance specific to the special permit. But since I wasn't requesting any variances, this is basically as if there were a house anywhere that you were adding space to.
But you're asking for a special permit to raise the height of the roof.
Well, yeah, that's
Well, let us find out from town council if we can grant you the special permit for that extra half a floor. Then we'll find out. Then when you come back next month, we'll.
Okay. Well, I want to get going on it.
We don't want to get you in hot water. We don't want to get us out.
Oh, I've been playing hot water on it.
No,
I don't want to get you in hot water.
We have two, we don't like it.
I understand.
We might need a letter.
Yeah. Can we get a motion to?
We might need a letter from him to continue. I accept that.
Piece of paper right there.
All this paper, there's no blank paper.
Yeah, right. I know.
What's where I'm on the back of these things?
Have another one of these.
These things.
Well, I can request a continuance
Yes.
until the date
We
finally.
meet with town council.
Hopefully by next month.
Copier?
Yes.
Yes.
Then I would request that the board continue the hearing
Do you
to
want to
next
just write that
month.
down?
I'm gonna write it down.
Just so it's in there.
It's on camera.
I know. Well, she always, I'm just harkening back to what she made us say, right? I'm tired of getting in trouble.
So who writes that to town council? Carolyn?
That's another good question. Yeah.
Maybe they won't answer.
You know, who do they rate it to?
Next available meeting would be,
I think it's May 1st because it's very soon.
Might be
May 1st.
Oh, May 1st. Do you want to put it for June?
It's pretty good. May 1st.
No, I think he wants to get
To a
going.
meeting.
In 2 weeks, maybe May 1st. 3 weeks. Time flies.
It's faster.
Change town council.
I have no idea.
Oh, it's past my bedtime.
That's a 6, right? Unless they've got something. I don't know.
It's not meeting.
I don't know. I can't.
Time to turn
Nobody
around.
here last
Something's changed.
Huh?
So there's nobody here last.
Was it you?
Just me.
I told
Was
her
it really?
already.
Me, no.
And a week later, I was like, oh, God.
I was gonna go.
Not just the 2 of us.
You actually emailed about it. I missed all of the emails. I was like, well, thank you.
But yeah.
So I'll make a motion to continue, to accept the request of the petitioner to continue petition number 984 to May 1st, 2023, and reach out to town council on whether or not we can issue a special permit to
Grant him the second story.
grant a restoration for an additional second story. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we covered it all.
All those in favor?
Yes.
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 can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
Was restoration in the public hearing notice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you put a bunch of stuff in there, so you're covered, I think.
All righty.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no decision on that. Put this bad boy in here. Let's get stuff done today, guys. We're doing great.
It's almost 9 o'clock.
We're doing road rage.
Okay, that's great.
All right, we'll move on.
Always an eye on the clock. Thank you.
Petition number 986.
986.
Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 13th, at 7 p.m., Board of Selectmen's Meeting Room, Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application of Diango Duarte on a special permit to develop a proposed site of a contractor storage and office space located at 359 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by Diego Duante of 102 Pond Street, East Bridgewater, Mass. 0233, as shown in the Assessors Map 73, Lot 9, Book 57341, page 211. Assessors Map 63, Lot 14, Book 57341, page 211. In the Assessors Map 63, Lot 1A, Book 57341, page 211. The applicant is seeking a special permit to construct a contractor storage and office space as this project would violate Halifax zoning bylaw 167-7, schedule of use regulations, and requires a special permit for light industrial use or a special permit for a warehouse facility. Area is zoned business, petition number 986.
Thank you. Nice reading. I didn't bring enough for everybody, but
that's good.
Okay.
my printer was bringing back today. Some of these printed with all sheets. Two of these just have the first like 4 sheets for the morning. That's probably
This is almost opposite the golf course. Opposite the golf course.
There's details and engineering, right?
This one is Dunkin' Donuts, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting. We were here 2 months ago, I believe, and we did our initial presentation. We went over the general layout of the site plan. We went over the compliance with special permit requirements, and we had a discussion with the zoning board and the butters and citizens of the town for 45 minutes or so, discussing the merits of the application. Basically, at the end, we have a summary of the items that the board had questions on. The letter I submitted to you today summarizes some of those questions. The board specifically requested what was going to be stored on site. There is no fertilizer proposed to be stored on site, indoors or outdoors. The site is basically to store landscape materials, loam, mulch, gravel, crushed stone, typical landscape materials like that, and also salt in the winter. The salt will be in an enclosure. We discussed that at the last hearing. The salt will be located outside of the 100-foot buffer zone at all times. Wanted to get to the main thing first, but that's not the order you listed them, so. We are proposing 5 storage bins in the rear of the property, shown on sheet 6. These are 20 by 20 bins. They can be piled as high as 15 feet high. I believe calculated that a line would be in my letter here, approximately 150 feet. Garage could be stored in each one. Typically, that's probably not all going to be there at once. It's a varying projects, varying needs for material. Another one of the items that you requested was to have a parking plan. So we added the last sheet. So this is
storage materials in the back of it.
So on the last sheet, we basically show a WB-50 tractor trailer coming in and being able to move around. We're showing 5 pickup trucks with typical trailers, landscape trailer. They can fit 3 in here. They can fit 2 there. Obviously, they could fit more as well. There's parking in front for standard vehicles. Whoever's working here or if there's a visitor. So there's ample room for maneuvering and storage. The site is, the rear of the site is enclosed in privacy fencing. So it'll be screened. Typical privacy fencing is about 6 feet high. So we provided that for you. One of the comments from the abutters was about site distance. This is on that same sheet from exiting Dunkin' Donuts. We added a note to the site plan that the existing trees in the front are to be removed, so to help improve this site distance. We also took this fence that we had located up to the street line and we pulled that back to also help the site distance out of Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts was there first and they knew the trees were there, but since it's going to maybe help the town and help the board grant this special permit, the applicants are willing to remove the trees. And since they're a landscape company, to find out ways to make the site look good. I believe the main issue that we discussed was we were proposing a metal building before. The owners who are here with Stephanie Raphael, who works there, engaged with their architect and tried to add some more texture and some awnings and doors, etc., on the front of the building to help the aesthetics of the building. They also want to do some good-looking gates here and have the front of the building fit into the center of town look, have it nice and neat, and then have everything stored behind privacy fencing, and that's where they would do their day-to-day operations. I think that those were all the items that you asked for us to look at. So I'll be happy to take any questions regarding these.
The materials are just for the business, no selling to outside customers?
Correct.
Traffic coming in and out, it's basically you operate, I'm assuming you pick them up, they leave in the morning, they come back in the afternoon, and there may be a couple of return trips sometime during the day, but we're not looking at a lot of volume of traffic there. And your operating hours?
9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
9 to 5, Monday to Friday, okay.
Is there, so there's no business going on, there's no retail or anything going on?
No.
Just landscaping.
Pick up and down.
So the primary purpose of the building is what?
Storage. Office storage for a landscape contractor.
Yeah, right, so they're gonna be coming and going all day, like getting it, they're keeping stuff there, is that?
I think what they would do is try to load up in the morning and bring the materials to a site, say mulch or whatever, lawnmower, pick it up and go do the yards of the day and return. I think it was a larger, probably a larger project would probably have the materials delivered to the site.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is not necessarily, I think you've done, you've listened to our concerns, I think you've taken all that stuff into consideration. I think for me, the consideration is, and the reason I think the bylaw has a special permit requirement for light industrial use like this, is whether or not it's an appropriate permit for the space that it's in. And so the reason I ask is, like a 7,100 square foot building in a pretty prominent place in town is going to add to the character, I guess, of the neighborhood or the street and the character of the center of town, right? And I guess the issue I've had all along is I can't think of anything similar in that space. I can think of something similar in the industrial spaces in town, but I can't. And I hesitate a little bit because it is going to have an impact, and I think that's why there's a special. Because I don't think the impact of this building is more than a typical commercial site, right? Like I think there's probably going to be less traffic coming in and out of here than Dunkin' Donuts next door,
right.
No question, right? And so for that purpose, I don't think the impact of it is why the bylaws requires a special permit. I think the impact of it that requires a special permit is whether or not it's an appropriate space for that use, which is why I think zoning exists in the first place. So I want the thing I'm hung up a little bit on is whether or not this is an appropriate use of that space, and if there are other. And I'm struggling to find similar use. If our entire center of town was light industrial use, it would have a character impact on what the center of town looks like. And I think that other people have brought that up in the past, and I think that when we think of how these things, like we just did with the storage, what impact that would have, how it would look, the setup of all that space, and with other permits that have come up in that same area, with the O'Reillys and the Dunkin' Donuts and all this stuff has come through, I think that's a little bit of a sticking point with this.
So I think the way it's written is that the use and the day-to-day function is detrimental to the town, the abutters, et cetera. And the purpose of the special permit is for you to put safeguards in that will safeguard the potential offensive nature of the project. And I believe the safeguards are that everything is located behind the building that would be storage or maybe somewhat of a light industrial use, and that is safeguarded by being stored interior and then behind the building, and also covered by surrounded by a privacy fence. I think the rendering here does a pretty good job of what you would expect to see from the street. Maybe not so much from the abutting angles, because we're not showing existing trees that may screen some of that. But I think this is, and the fence lines, obviously, that they want you to see through them in this image, but I think they've done a good job laying this out and keeping the light industrial portions of it hidden and keeping the potential detrimental, offensive, odorous, any of that typical special permit language at bay with the layout they have. I had the same question for them. They think they have plenty of space here, and they want to pursue getting the special permit and go before the planning board and conservation as well.
And I agree with everything. I think they've tried to plan this thoughtfully and well. I think there are plenty of places in our bylaws, like the 1 acre minimum and the height requirement that we were just talking about with restorations, that are not harmful necessarily, but they are a preference of the bylaws that the town created. And I'm wondering if that, and the creation of the business zone, the central business zone of town, if that's what's weighing on me.
They didn't exclude it.
Correct.
They gave you the opportunity to safeguard.
Correct. And to that point, there are light industrial uses in the business zone. Like, for example, there is the place over that makes they make gutters or something over here, over by the gas station, that's in a business zone and has a light industrial use, but has more of an appropriate neighborhood feel that you don't necessarily notice. This is an impact statement. It's a 7,100 square foot building that, O'Reilly's is not that big, right?
3,000, 4,000, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is double the size of that across the street, and plenty of people had enough to say about O'Reilly's to me when that one, because that's how Halifax works.
I know last...
Good or bad?
Yeah, last hearing I had the GIS image. I don't know if, I didn't see it in my file here. This time I don't know if we left it with you, but I thought this building was similar size to, was smaller than many of the buildings that are in the center of town, including Stop and Shop. O'Reilly's obviously large, the old Lionville's pretty large building. It's not outside the character. Even the Dunkin' Donuts liquor store is a pretty good sized building, and then you start to get to the rural historic section before you get down to the industrial section. Smithers Landscape across from Ritter Golf Course. I actually drove by that today. I thought that would be a kind of a similar type use. I think they did a good job keeping that looking more of a commercial building in the front, and I know they have similar equipment and et cetera. I drove by that a few times, and in particular this evening. Thought that was a pretty good looking building, and I think they want to market themselves here. They don't want to make it look like an ugly landscape yard.
That's not what I'm saying.
You know?
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying anything like that.
No, I'm just arguing for them.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah. I don't also don't. It's good for it.
Do they plan on utilizing the whole building for this business, or plan on renting out portions?
My understanding is they're using the whole building, and that's how we're presenting it, particularly on the last sheet of the plans I gave you. They can fill that up with trailers and trucks pretty quickly. Those trailers are pretty long. So I tried to give you a layout of
on
the interior,
right?
Yeah. So the front portion of the building is the offices, and then in the rear you have the garage bays, and can pull those in, and also have storage of some equipment.
Are they going to be storing equipment outside? Skid steers, loaders?
Inside.
Is this a full year-round operation, or do you shut down during the wintertime?
No, all year round.
That plows during the winter, right? Those are stored outside, the plows? You don't have any fertilizer on site?
We don't do fertilizer, we subcontract.
Yeah.
You do more of the construction portion?
Yes.
So how you mentioned last time about salt. Does the salt have to be stored indoors or with a cover, or can that be stored outside?
They can store it outside as long as they cover it, has a shed over it.
Okay. And the other thing was we just had the storage place too, with 8 metal buildings, and we were going to use some kind of textured board that they mentioned. Is this strictly metal? The colors I think are great. They look great.
Yeah, no, they're
But
nice.
is it the same? Is it a metal frontage, or is it that textured thing that?
So it's veneer. I believe it's veneer.
I'm sorry.
Here, and then Stephanie was saying that this was more like a clapboard texture in between.
So it's going to be metal, but then instead we're going horizontal, that's gonna look more like a house siding. So it's not gonna look like metal at all.
And it's veneered on the
And then
lower pool.
veneer
Yeah, across the bottom.
from the foundation to the roof.
That's a heck of a lot nicer than just a straight metal sheet
Yeah.
building.
It's gonna give a nice look in the veneers.
And the hours of operation too, you would ask before, during the winter time, of course,
That
that's
could
out the
be,
window.
yeah, as far as
Depending on how
snowplows,
much
could be
snow we
any
get
time.
and whatnot.
And we do need snowplows, from what I understand. Any other questions out there?
You have Sanders and things also? You have Sanders?
Sanders, yeah.
Yeah. Stored out back behind the building?
Yeah, probably. Or maybe inside the building if it needs to be. But I don't think so.
Yes.
Now, my understanding is your crew will come in the morning and take their trucks in there, and they're probably 1-ton trucks or 3/4-ton trucks with their landscape trailers behind them, and they'll be gone for the day for the most part.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they come back, all of that equipment is parked inside of the building, correct?
Yes.
Trucks and trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So none of those trucks will be outside.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, there is outside.
there's two that they could have outside, yeah.
Yes.
On the
But it'll
back.
be behind
It's
the-
behind privacy fencing, though.
Yeah.
Everything's to be parked and stored behind the building. The front is to look like parking and a commercial use building. So
And
it's
then
a-
because of the residents behind that building, at the last meeting, we discussed the fencing and your stockpiles. And I forget how high you said that fencing would be in the back, so the neighbors wouldn't have to be looking at the stockpiles. I don't recall what the size, or if there was gonna be any other trees planted back there.
There's a bunch of trees right there now.
Yeah.
There's already a lot of
There's
trees.
trees on the abutting property and ours, and we're talking about doing a 6-foot privacy fence. We probably could do 8-foot, much more than that. Then you're looking at a big giant wall instead of,
Right.
the top of a pile occasionally,
Okay. And then we had agreed that the plantings in the front, after the trees were removed, would be maintained at less than 4 feet high, so you weren't blocking that sight line when you're pulling out of Dunkin' Donuts trying to look down that street headed west, which is blocked now by those trees. So that, all of the shrubbery you're seeing there will be maintained at a 4-foot level. Okay?
We're fine with the condition on that. if the board-
Yeah, well, I mean, they're a landscape company, so I'm sure they're going to maintain.
Maybe you know somebody.
It's a nice bluff planting, so it doesn't require very little maintenance. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But the main thing here is from a traffic standpoint, on that dangerous curve, that type of business in there
We're not going
is
home.
to our advantage in town, relative traffic coming in and out, because they're coming in and out twice a day. Done, finished business for the most part. Okay?
Yep.
Whereas if you had somebody build whatever in there that was a retail space, that was, I don't care, a hairdresser, barber shop, you name it.
Starbucks.
The cars, yeah, Starbucks, right. They got a
We need
shop.
one.
Ladies, but anyway, coming
I had
down
a Starbucks.
around that curve,
I have to go all
in
the
my
way to
opinion, that's an
Kingston
ideal
to have a
business
Starbucks. Come
to
on.
be put in there. And because they're in the landscape business, I think it's an advantage to the town.
Thank you.
For the safety factor.
Thank you.
I know that at the last meeting, we had some porta potties were stationed on the, and they have been removed.
Yeah, we moved. Yeah.
I understand that you own that company. Is that going to be of any use in this facility?
Storage of those pot plant.
That hasn't been discussed yet. I don't think so.
So you're gonna have a double use.
So that will
You're
be
gonna have
different.
landscaping use.
No,
and-
I don't think we're gonna be doing that now.
So,
Are you gonna run the company, the toilet company out of that building?
No.
okay.
We have a different location down
I think that's what
behind
they said the last
Chi-Town.
time.
Yeah, I was pretty sure. I just wanted to double check, you know?
Yeah, we have our yard, it's been empty right now, behind Tri-Town and East Bridgewater, so it's gonna maintain there.
Yes.
I just had a question. I was just looking at their site that shows a lot of their storage at. Is that the amount of equipment that would be stored there? All the trucks,
That's for a
trailers?
lot of people, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a huge industrial drive.
Yeah.
So you're not the
It's
only
not-
business there.
No, it's not just, there's a lot of other landscapes over there. Johnson's,
There's Bailey's,
yeah.
Tri-Town, that.
But it also looked like you do hardscaping and fencing, and it looked like pallets upon pallets of hardscape stuff, fencing. I was just wondering, would that be all in the building or outside?
So we also do fencing and we might have some storage on the outside, on those space. Whenever we have, work to do, then we can just store it down over there.
All right.
Were they able to work out with the abutters, the walnut trees in the back? I know they were kind of concerned about them.
Yep, I know the planning board is looking for those, and I've requested that a few times. They're having trouble connecting with the abutter to say, this tree, this tree, and this tree. I've asked them to be flagged so I can locate them. So we haven't really been able to get together with the neighbor.
Get what you can.
Yeah. I can guess, I can go out there and guess, but if they have some specific ones, it would be good if they could flag them. So we have a meeting with the planning board next week that I'm pushing for it. Sorry.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for taking those 4 porta potties out of there. It looks much better. And I'd like it to be one of the contingencies that there be no storage of porta potties there. And after being here tonight, I don't really think anybody really knows what they're going to put in there to store. And I don't think any heavy equipment should be in there that isn't used on lawns, that, like heavy equipment, heavy equipment should be used and stored in there.
Well, I'm just looking at the space there. I don't see where they could store heavy equipment. I'm sure they're going to have trucks with plows on them. I'm not sure. They'll have those there. But I don't think the space is that big to store a lot of heavy equipment. And those are things that we could put as
contingency.
That contingency that they can't store heavy equipment there. That can be resolved. And I don't think they're going to, so it shouldn't be a problem.
As long as there's no porta potties.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
You are having indoor plumbing? All right. I just want to make sure. Are there any other questions? Anyone?
No.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
On site? I think we're all familiar with the property.
I'm pretty sure we are.
Can waive that.
Yeah.
We've all been to Dunks for
If you weren't sure of the property, it's motion to waive the on-site?
Second.
Vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. No on-site inspection. Right. Shall we make a motion on the petition?
Fine with the industrial use. I'm not sold on the final design yet. Is that something the planning board would definitely go over as far as what the building looks like?
All right, that's what we're looking at.
It's just, I don't know. It's right across from Country Club Drive. Don't know if I want to pull out and see. It's better than it was for sure.
Yeah, it's different from before last month.
Like I said, I don't have a problem with the
4x4
use. I
box.
just want to make sure it looks nice.
That's my hesitation. So what I'm looking for is the definition of what a special permit should be granted for. And it says in the bylaws, such permit may be issued when the Board of Appeals has found that the use involved will not be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood or the town. And then a bunch of other stuff. And that I think is like what you're speaking to. It's kind of what my hesitation is with the use, even though I don't know if everybody agrees with me there. But like it speaks to all of the concerns that Nostalgia brought up and everybody's kind of brought up. Is I don't think this is an inappropriate building or business for the town of Halifax. Like I want this to happen. I don't know if that's the right use for it. I would disagree with it in a lot of places in town, and I don't know. And there's a little bit of a question in the spot, but I think that's why the bylaw is the way it is, and that's my hesitation with it. It is like I think there are spots for it, and I want them to have their business here, but Like, we've been talking about coming out of Dunkin' Donuts. I'm noticing 6-foot fence where the edge of the Dunkin' Donuts is coming out. I'm concerned about, to Ms. Alger's point, like, I don't know, like, we know what our idea of what's going to be stored there, but we don't know exactly what's going to be stored there. And that's not a space in our town. We want stuff to be stored. And that's why I think this specific bylaw is the way it is. I think that's why there's zoning. And I think that's why we're here. So, I mean, that's my hesitation with this.
So do we want to push this off and wait for the planning board? Site plan review to approve it?
Typically I think we do that. And then
Have you looked at this yet with the planning board part?
Yep.
And you're looking at it again this week? Thursday?
Yes.
Is it next week?
Next week.
Yeah. And I think we're in that same hamster wheel. I thought they wanted you to act first, unfortunately. Do you?
Well, it's the same thing with the storage thing, if you don't mind me saying. With the same thing with the storage facility over there. If the board itself did not approve the use, then there's no sense even spending money to go forward with it. So we continued our hearing, or at least on the other one, not specifically on this one, until the determination of whether or not your board considered it an acceptable use in that commercial/business area. So that's how we left it, where it was it seemed like the zoning issue of whether or not you were going to let that type of business and that use of the property, if it was, like Pete said, was in the established character of the neighborhood, it doesn't derogate from the intent of the bylaws or anything like that. And that's a judgment call on your part. I agree with the fact that they went out of their way to make the front facade look within the business character. I applaud you for that. Thanks for your efforts on that. To make it as opposed to just a metal building like the one we got at our recycling center, which this is. The effort was definitely put in.
Sure, yeah. There's no question about it, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, personally, I'm not speaking for the planning board, I'm speaking for Barry. But, that's what we were waiting on, to see if you guys thought it even belonged in that area. And that, with this holding the fact that not just this landscaping business or any type of landscaping business with this type of setup, like you were saying, Peter, love to have them in town.
Yeah, they're thoughtful and they've done a good job. Yeah.
So are we concerned about what's going to be stored there? Are we still thinking on, do we want to postpone it for a month? And
I think we
decide
can
if
say
that's
whether
what
or
you
not
want?
we're okay with the use. I mean,
The use is gone. What's scaring me,
see, it's not
it's
scaring
gonna
me
be-
because we just said okay to storage. We just said okay to the farm stand. But we've got a lot of light industrial that we're allowing. So we're kind of changing the landscape a little bit. But I think we have to do so in a respectful way to make sure the town looks like a small town and not a bunch of metal buildings. So we definitely need to have people in town.
Yeah.
We've got too many vacant lots just not getting used.
So,
I agree.
Yes.
I think that
your suggestion is to modify the...
But I think that goes along with the planning board. I think, could approve the use based on the planning board going over the aesthetics of it.
But again, he said that the planning board waiting to see what
If we were okay with the use.
use of it.
Use of
Yeah.
But I
property,
think...
period.
that's our
I
only
think-
question. Is
Their
their questions are everything else. Right.
For me, I think your concern is mostly you don't really know what's going to be stored in that building. So I think we can put condition, things that need, because they said they are X, Y, and Z. So based on what they said, we're just going to put it there. So anything out of ordinary that enter to that building will be a violation of their own words. So again, we need, it's not because we need people coming here, but we need good quality business to come and
they
stay.
appear to be
And appear to be in the
mindful.
characteristics of the town. So therefore, we gotta take them by the words and then put a condition on if we grant them the permit, we put a condition, so what needed to be in that building.
Top one being no porta potties.
Noted.
Yeah.
So a few concerns probably, what are you gonna be able to see from the road, right? Is it gonna be?
I'm gonna be very honest. I am hard pressed to find, so our position as a board is, and I think Marlene's position is, we always wanna get to a yes. And I support that. I think this is different than the storage facility that we just talked about. I think this is different than the other stuff that we've talked about in the past. For me, I don't know how the rest of the board votes. I kind of am clear on what you guys are doing. I don't know. I think I'm voting no on the use of that space. I want this company in town. I want these people in town. I think they're good people. I don't think there's a condition that we could put on it that would approve this use, because I don't know if it's appropriate for that space in town. I think it's 1,000% appropriate and there are similar buildings and businesses down 106 that are not, in the center of what people are defining the center of town, and that would be appropriate. And that is very similar to your point about Ritter Golf Course and that landscaping company. That is a similar zoning area near Ritter Country Club. That's not the center of East Bridgewater. That's on the edge, on the boundary of their town, and that's, I think, why it's approved over there. You wouldn't even be in here asking the question if you were voting that in the industrial zone. That's my position. I'm not speaking for everybody. I think that's just where I'm at.
Again, I just want to reiterate that it's allowed by special permit, and special permit is to put in protections to keep the allowed use from being detrimental to the neighborhood. And we are storing a lot of stuff inside, we're storing stuff out back, and they've gone a long way in the architectural. So I'm not sure what else we can do. What I was going to suggest when I started bringing this up is that if you think it's visually going to be an issue with storage of things, maybe we could add some plantings so you can't see it from here in this direction. Possibly we could add some plantings in here so you can't see something above the fence line. Something with a little more screening. And then we just need to be careful with this sight line. And possibly we could pull this back a few more feet and get something in here so that we're blocking out visual here. There's nothing you can see this way. There's you're coming around this angle, you're looking out here. You really have to be looking for it to be able to see to the backyard. And you can see there's vegetation here currently.
I think we're at a point where if anyone wants to make a motion, or if we're going to postpone it or have them withdraw, I'm just looking at how to go forward on this here. Because if we take a vote and the vote is no, then you're done. You can't come back for 2 years to do anything. If we postpone it, and if we put it off for a month and see what's going on with the planning.
Can I confer with my client outside for a second? See how they want to handle this?
Very honestly, we have a meeting May 1st, so...
May 1st is less than a month.
Right. And what do we need for a special permit? A majority?
4 votes.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a second.
4 or 5.
4 to 5.
4 or 5.
Oh, is there an alternate?
Yes.
This one is the alternate. My vote doesn't count. Goodness. Anyway,
Some nights we
I
fall
know.
way behind.
How many we have left? Two? One?
I tried many times.
See you later. Bye, Robert. Be good luck, Robert.
Thank you.
Just got the big one text. I'll make this stay up anymore. Stinking hot. She's all out of
And it's good.
That's why I said
That's a program, right? She's and now I use car lock. And then I don't use car lock. And now I use car lock. You know, like that's my concern. You know, so I don't want to be that guy. I guess I'm
I had to put on my attorney hat. Is there any way to hold a board to see which way they would go in an unofficial manner?
Something we've done.
I told you I turned into an attorney, sorry.
Yeah. And I don't think
I
we would
wouldn't mind
guarantee anything.
continuing it. So I like the project. I like the way it looks. The use, I think it's doable. I'm not just totally sold. I don't know what it is about it. I do like it. I think it would be great in town. That spot is questionable. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's why they make it a special permit, right?
It's what it's gonna be turned into in a few years from now. Right now, you promise the world, but in a couple of years, something's gonna change.
is it going to look like
And
it?
the use is gonna be different.
Well, if they change the use, then the zoning
Not the use,
enforcement
I mean,
officer
let's say
has the
they
ability to.
bring the business of the other
Well,
business
it's not
into it.
offensive, he won't do it, I'm sorry.
They might run the other business out of that office. And they probably have renters inside. You know, for
Yes.
garage space.
Yep. Again, that's enforceable.
I understand that. But to vote in favor of it, and all of a sudden, down the line, and the town people are gonna look at it and say, hey, didn't you see this coming?
I do
But
understand.
you can't vote on what might happen.
I was just going to say that exact thing, because I understand where you're forward thinking on it, but that's not the petition. in
Right, I
front of you,
know.
and,
So how do you determine the size of the building? With the equipment?
Honesty, I'm thinking that they stayed right under the sprinkler requirement of 7,500 square feet
Went as big as you can without...
without a sprinkler. Yep. That's, $80,000 swing.
Why not park the equipment outside? Like, if you were anywhere else, would you park the equipment outside?
Do you think?
It's a big building to just be parking equipment in. I'd much rather have it inside the building.
Because it's cold. And if you don't want to be outside in the cold, you want to, do maintenance on your equipment inside. That's why we need a big storage.
You don't need that big of a building to work on a piece of equipment.
And the equipment lasts longer if you can, as much as you can store it inside. This is,
It's
I
more...
really want to point out these questions would not be an issue if it was in the industrial zone. I think we're even having this conversation because the use is inappropriate for this spot.
Well,
That's what's been drawn, and I think you guys have done an excellent job putting this together. I think it would be a great building in the town. I just, all of these questions are questions about the use that even if they follow the petition as it's presented, which I think they'll do, and that's how we take all of that.
With trees.
Yeah, and
Like that.
all of these questions are, about the use. And it seems to be the sticking point with, and that's what I keep coming back to.
Are you storing fuel there? Besides the gas can, nothing quantity? So what do you have for equipment? Anything bigger than skid steers? You have excavators?
Mini excavators. So it's not big for.
Yeah. Now, what about the mulch? You use a skid steers or a backhoe?
We use the bobcat to load the trucks. That's what we use.
with the amount of space they have, they don't need a front end loader.
Right.
I would think if.
But I didn't know if a Bobcat was out at a job site and you leave a backhoe or a loader there.
Yep. I don't think it's big enough to warrant that investment.
Now you do hardscapes also? Do you store that material there?
We usually ship to the client's house. We have the address there and then they load over there.
But you buy it by the pallets?
Yeah.
You have leftover after the job? What do you do with that?
Yeah, we do have some leftovers. Yeah.
It'll be stored here?
Outside on one of the bays, have everything very nice and organized. We like to have everything nice and clean. No trash around the property. We're very, very organized.
That's one of my concerns, organized cleanliness.
Oh, yeah, we're very clean. I am at 102 West Pond Street. That's where my house is. You guys can drive there and it's going to look beautiful all the time.
It better look beautiful.
All the time.
I want to continue, vote.
Motion to continue.
Yeah, we'll request a continuance.
Yeah.
I've taken notes. I don't have any grand ideas that I can give these guys. I can't tell them to change to selling burgers, that if they are what they are. We'll sleep on it, try and come up with some potential.
I think a business like this is definitely better than a retail business in that area traffic.
It does have some benefits with the traffic issues. We understand your concerns. We'll try and figure out how we can help you condition it potentially, to put you at ease that it's an industrial use in the center of town.
Yeah.
Light industrial.
Now, what about lighting?
Industrial light.
I do have a lighting plan.
I don't recall if we went over that or not.
Yeah, it was only 2 months ago, so.
That's what I think we did.
Just 2 years.
I said I think we did the lighting.
Yeah, so we're basically, the red is, the hotter numbers, then green and blue is the 0-foot candles on the exterior. So by the time you get out past the green, you're not casting.
So when are the lights on? Only during...
I bet they won't be on very much at all.
They motion or...
Yeah, motion lights, yeah.
It's very dark over there anyway.
Yeah.
We walked up to the fireworks and it was very dark over there.
We don't want to have expensive light bills, to pay.
Make a motion to continue this to May 1st.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let us know what you come up with at planning board and
Will do. Who is the administrator that should email stuff?
That's a great
At time,
question.
or should I just carry it in like I just did? I'm not gonna have a lot of material.
I don't think we have any.
so Caroline Voigt is the one that's been sending us everything.
VOGT is the last name, right?
I looked through my emails before I emailed to somebody 10 weeks ago.
Alana.
Yeah, that party is small, unfortunately.
No longer here.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
these guys probably have extras. Can I give
Oh,
one
sure.
to the butter?
No, you can take them
Can you
right back.
keep one of those for your file for the record?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got the last one?
Next one.
Oh my God, almost 10 o'clock.
I know it. Next petition is number 989. Robert and Laura Dolowski. Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, April 10th, 2023 at 7:50 PM in a Board of Selectmen's meeting room at Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application by Robert and Laura Dolinsky for a special permit to build an addition for an in-law apartment located at 30 Orchard Circle, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by Robert and Laura Dolinsky of 30 Orchard Circle, Halifax, Mass. 02338, as shown on Assessors Map 90, Lot 8H, Book 37869, page 188. The applicant is seeking a special permit to build an addition for an in-law apartment for this project would violate Halifax zoning bylaw 167-7D12, Schedule of Use Regulations, Area Zone Residential, petition 989.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Stephen Rye with Land Planning. I'm here on behalf of the Duleskis. They have an existing house on 30 Orchard Circle, single-family home, 4-bedroom home, and they like Laura's parents to be able to move in. They're currently located up in Plainville. They want to get closer, and they want to keep the family together as they get older. So we're proposing to put an in-law addition on the property. The existing house is here. The in-law addition will be on the northerly side of that. 25 by 36 square foot addition, 900 square foot. And you've got an existing, it's a 5-acre lot, 5.6 acres actually, and this is the upland portion of it in the front. We've gone to conservation already to get our order conditions and the variance. They're going to work within the 50 foot from the wetland. So they issued that, we have that already. They're adding on another bedroom. We're adding to the septic system. So we filed a plan with the Board of Health already, and that has been approved as well. So what we're proposing is the existing driveway is here, and they've got a sidewalk to the front entrance. So that'll be a common entrance for both the addition and the house. And then we'll have a second sidewalk coming off of that, going to the front door, and the farmer's porch on the front of the addition. That'll access the in-law apartment. And in the back, it will be a walk out in the back from the basement. The basement's unfinished, and there's only one floor proposed on the first floor. They'll have a common access between the basements. It's going to be, the wall's going to be cut, so it'll be access in the basement between both the existing house and the in-law apartment. And on the first floor, there'll be an opening as well there between the house and the in-law. And they're going to be using common utilities. As I say, the existing septic system is here, and they're adding on a trench for the additional bedroom. So they're using that combined, and they're using the water service combined to the house. They've got underground utilities now. That's going to be maintained. And they've got a propane tank in the back for heating. As far as locations of it, it's 20 ways off the front yard, and it's 87 feet off the side yard. We've got an existing tree line here, which is going to be maintained, so there's no disturbance of that besides a few large trees that the conservation has allowed us to take down because of large pines mostly, and the wood road coming down on the existing structure as it is now, in addition to the in-law. So we filed for the special permit for your approval of that. We did file a building, filed with the building department to get a denial from the building inspector, and we've got that. I think that's in your file as well. Let's see any other questions you might have on it.
Okay. They're all shared utilities, is what you said. Yeah, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Jim Walters, 26 Orchard Circle, is Valesky's neighbor. I didn't get an answer when I was at the Conservation Committee, and I still haven't gotten an answer from anybody about the way the property, the way their house sits is kind of angled to the street, right? And then it builds up to the side. It goes 14 feet into the no-touch zone already. And it's a slope off the house. Currently, it's sloped landscaping. So my understanding is to build this, they're going to have to flatten all that out, right? And make it level surface so they can build on top of it. Where's the wastewater going to go? What are we doing about runoff management? Because granted, it's all wetlands behind my house, which already causes me plenty of mosquito issues to where I have to provide maintenance on that continually every year. This is going to increase the water flow, and it's going to make the problem worse. So I think it's going to exacerbate the issue. And they've already apparently gotten their variance from the Conservation Committee. So my question is, where's the rainwater going to go? Because it's just going to run to the back of my house.
Could we pipe it into their pond?
Well, this is a pretty good sized wetland in the back. It's a wooded wetland. And he lives here at number 26, right?
Right.
He's actually upland of where we're located, so that water's not going to flow up to him. And we're not having a large addition. I mean, it's 900 square foot addition. The lot is 5 acres large, and it's got a huge wetland.
So are you saying are you saying that you're changing the landscaping and the way the current water runs now is not going to impact anything? Because I can tell you, the water runs behind my house. Every time it rains, I get a leak, and it's just standing water. So,
we did have a site walk with conservation, and they also looked at it and agreed there was no issue with water because you're so much upland from where this is, gradient-wise.
No, we're not. I don't understand what you mean by that. Maybe I'm just ignorant of the fact, but the wetland is behind my house, right?
Yes, I think that's where it starts, actually.
Well, right. And when it rains, it fills up with water. So what are we doing? You're changing the way the water's going to flow now by building, right? Or
we're not changing the way the water's going to flow. It currently flows from front to back. It's going to continue to flow that way, and that's their
to a level field.
So I think what your concern is yes, it's going to flow back, but there's going to be less, probably less topography to soak it up. Now that you have a home there.
Well, I mean, I haven't been able to get, I guess, a solid answer at this point. We're just kind of seeing the lands as you go down into the wetlands.
It's a tough thing with wetlands.
Well, we're already building in the no-touch zone. So
What's actually happening is we're not changing the tree line at all.
We cut down 9 trees.
They're building within the grassed area.
So you did change the tree line because you cut down 9 trees?
No, they're not changing the tree line. There's a ton of trees out here. These ones that are designated, the conservation allowed to take one down specifically because of the problem where they're close to the structure. Now,
and I get that, but they've been there for, you just cut them down, they've been there for 2 years. They weren't a problem 2 years ago, now they're a problem. So whatever logic we want to use to say we want to cut them down, you use, and you got to cut them down. That's not my question. My question is, the water is going to, I think it's going to, the water's going to flow to my side or to the side that's behind my house, more so than it's going to go directly back. And has that been engineered in some way to keep it running in the back? French drains, drain field, something to, redirect the water flow.
Well, we're not directing the water flow to your property as it is. I'm telling you, it's going to the back of the property, it's not going to your property.
Other than
This is a very small
your-
addition on a single-family house.
Okay, appreciate that. That's not answering the water question. You're just saying that it's not gonna do it? Has there been an engineering looking at it? Is there something that we can look at that says it won't happen?
I don't know what I can tell you that will satisfy you. I really don't. It drains to the wetland drains in the opposite direction of your property because you're at the upper end of the wetland. And it drains onto their remaining 5.5 acres of land before it goes off-site.
A third-party opinion?
I mean, I think the only thing we can say is that conservation would probably be your only answer. We can't answer that. I can't tell you how that's going to happen by looking at that drawing. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that if you have a real question on what kind of rainwater is going to, you got to go to conservation. And he has a permit, you've already got approved.
Yes.
Give them that number and they can look at it and say, and tell you whether that's going to cause more water to your property. I mean, I don't know what other answer to give you.
Well, I mean, I was at the conservation meeting and, nobody ever got back to me.
Well, I think you have to be
We
persistent.
had a site meeting, and I know they announced the time of the site meeting when you were there.
Yes, and we saw 5 people come out to the house on a
So
Friday morning.
they took a look at it and were satisfied that it's not going to be an issue. And that's why they issued the order of
I
conditions
see.
without requiring
I see.
anything
So-
extra.
You live to the left of this house?
Looking at the
Okay,
front, we do
yes.
live, yes.
This may be one where we shouldn't forego the site visit.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Do a site visit so we can
Sure.
see the directions of the water.
Sure.
If that would help satisfy.
Yeah, we're probably worse than people ask about this stuff though. Like we don't do any of that water stuff.
If you think you really need to address water flow and think the conservation hasn't already adequately addressed it.
But conservation deals with the conservation, not water
No,
issues.
I mean, it was brought up,
So,
the same thing was brought up at that meeting, and they did a site
I think
walk.
he has a concern, and I think it'd be a good idea for us to visit the property.
I'm not saying you can't.
The property is on a slope? What you say?
Well, the way the current residence is at 30
Yes.
is that it comes, the side they want to build on has a hill.
Okay, how's this? Okay, so they have to level
So they
it.
don't have to-
I think they're gonna have to build it up. I mean, I'm not an engineer.
The land pitches towards his
The
property
existing
anyways.
foundation is going to match the current foundation. So, and because it drops off in grade in this direction, that's why we're able to have a walkout in the back. So we're not
We
changing,
have to go see it.
except right around the edge, we're adding a little bit of fill to lift up the front of the yard. That's all, in front of the addition.
What is the elevation difference between his property and, do you know?
I don't have the grade, we didn't go up.
You know, it usually stops at the edge of your work.
50 goes down to 46, that's probably 44. So
All right, maybe we go for a site visit and then we come back.
What's the just looking at the bylaws? So what is this size of the end of the property?
No, just go.
I think in general, we're probably all okay with the position and all the other stuff with that. But we'd like to make sure that the neighbors are satisfied. We don't want to cause an issue.
Sure.
So if it's a couple weeks to, check that out.
Did you say May 1st is it?
May 1st is our next meeting, so.
Typically we do it the Saturday before.
Yeah, so it's the Saturday.
I'll make a motion for an on-site to,
You have to make sure they're cool with it.
you're okay with it, on-site?
Yeah, I'll talk to them and make sure that they are. If there's any issue, I'll let you know.
Can you mark the property where the addition's gonna go?
Yeah, there's actually a couple stakes for the outside
The
addition.
22nd.
Saturday, 29th.
And,
The 29th.
yeah, I looked at the original.
Right.
It's right along the
Good, because she has a tournament the 22nd.
It's very obvious.
The 29th, I think, is the baseball parade, right?
We like our
No, the 23rd is the
and we're happy to
baseball.
have
Oh,
an
you're
operation.
Yeah.
So want to point that out. We
I've
just
got
don't
my
want it to
calendar
adversely
very
affect our
well mapped
property.
out.
I know, I don't, clearly. between seasons.
So the 29th,
For a site meeting?
yeah.
9 o'clock.
What date does that fall?
It's a Saturday.
I'll make a motion for an on-site for petition 989, Saturday, April 29th at 9 a.m.
They don't need to be there. I'm from having children in the same school system. I know they have 3 little ones.
Yeah, they do have 3 months.
So it's probably almost impossible for them to be home on a Saturday morning. They don't need to be there. Just.
Well, they all.
They might want to, but.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm on the soccer board.
Right, so they all play.
All right, do we have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Let's see what time we're ready with other things.
Do we have to say continue to make this?
My niece says.
So I'll make a motion to continue petition 989 to May 1st at, oh yeah,
We have no idea what at some time.
15?
7:15 sounds good.
7:15.
Thank you.
Second? You have a
Or
second?
9:49.
I'll second it.
Second, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes.
No.
Ouch!
You're still all voting.
It won't matter.
All right. While we have one more, the gentleman's been sitting here.
Oh my goodness gracious.
He didn't even fall asleep.
I heard.
He didn't fall asleep either.
We're
Okay.
almost there.
Close the doors and
Petition 990, Roy King.
That's why my dad sent me.
Petition 990. Where's 990?
He's a smart man.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting this long, a long time, so.
The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, April 10th, 2023 at 8 p.m. In the boardroom. I'm just looking at the 8 p.m. Yeah, it's more like 10 p.m. A little behind. In the Board of Selectmen's meeting room in Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass, for the application of routine for variance to build a 24 by 20 detached garage located at 312 Wood Street, Halifax, Mass, 02338. Said property is owned by Roy Keane of 312 Wood Street, Halifax, Mass, 20338. As shown on Assessors Map 118, Lot 1-0, Book 45318, page 217. The applicant is seeking a variance to build a 24 by 20 detached garage, which requires a variance on the side yard setback from 30 feet to 18.3 feet, in accordance with the Town of Halifax zoning bylaws, section 167-11, table of dimensional and density regulation area. Area zone residential, petition 990. You want to tell us what's going on?
Just my father is putting in a detached garage. 24 by 20 at the end of his driveway. And just the way that the property runs with the neighbors just gets too close there. That's perfect. I didn't see that.
Do we have a variance on this property from the road, like within the last year?
Huh?
From the road? Did he do it? Did he do an addition? No, it was another Wood Street, I feel like.
That was River Street.
Oh, okay. These things all just kind of run together, I'm sorry.
There was a Wood Street, was it?
Whereabouts are you on Wood Street?
I think it was just an addition.
About the third house down on the right-hand side. River Street.
Wood Street.
Third house on the other, right?
Blue house there?
Yeah.
Yep, the right-hand side. The garage in the back there.
Wood Street.
So he's looking to put it just at the end of the driveway, to the left of the house.
So looking at the house, what's to the left? Is there another house there?
Yeah, about 100 feet away. Yeah, and they have a driveway that runs down in between our property.
come down here.
And you have an existing garage out back?
He does, yeah.
That's staying?
Yep. Yeah, he's just looking to have the garage at the end of the driveway because the garage in the house is a little too small really for his vehicle, so.
Where is the septic on it? Do you know?
On the right-hand side of the house.
Lots of around.
Right.
So the septic system is over here.
Are there any doors that are larger than 12 feet?
No, I don't think so. I think he's doing a 9x9.
Okay.
And just one single door.
Okay. Is there any living quarters in there?
No.
Do you guys have to go before conservation?
I don't believe so.
I only ask because it says flood zone on here.
I think they're further. I think they're.
Oh, they are. There's a good buffer.
Oh no, they're right.
That's why I was asking.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's just gonna be used for storage or for vehicles?
For vehicles.
No second story or anything?
No.
No plumbing.
No.
No caveman. I'm just kidding.
We gotta ask all the questions.
First new Jeep.
Did your father talk to the neighbors?
Yeah. Yeah, they've
No issues?
been neighbors for 30 years or so.
So the side.
Is there a reason why it can't be pulled closer to the deck?
There's a retaining wall. With the driveway. The front yard is kind of elevated.
So
in the side of the
getting
house,
in and
it's
out of
like
the garage, you'd
it's
have
like
an
a
issue?
basement.
So getting in and out of the garage, you'd have an issue?
Yeah, so he wants to put it to the left-hand side. It's gonna be at the end of the driveway, but that's just the way the property runs down on the left-hand side.
What's our typical side yard setback? What is the typical side yard setback?
That's what I was asking for, the variance of the...
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how much of a variance. Whether it was a couple inches or, yeah.
So there's no way on this lot you can put this garage?
No, not really. It's, right now, it would just be at the end of the driveway.
What is, what's behind the house, these dotted lines? Does anybody know?
It just shows a floodplain, so up
Over
back.
there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this is.
Drainage or? You see what I'm
This
talking
one
about?
over.
Driveway for, he has an apartment over there. This is a detached garage, maybe.
No.
What is that?
No, it says
Yeah.
PVC. 10-inch PVC.
Oh, I don't know.
Is it drainage down to the easement?
Concrete cover, so you have
This is,
it's behind. There's a manhole. It's a drainage manhole of some
there's a
sort.
manhole at the top of the road,
Yeah, you get a six-inch line that runs right through it. So there's no way you're gonna be able to build over that thing there.
What is it, Jerry, a 6-inch?
You get a
drainage?
6-inch, drain pipe running up back, 2 manholes out there.
So it can't be tucked behind the
No.
house?
through the,
I mean, it looks like the land slopes off a little bit going down this way here, doesn't it?
ever so
Not bad.
slightly, yeah.
Maybe that's
Kind of
what make it-
slopes out this way.
Yeah.
Tend to kind of run out. Well, back this way. So I'm looking at it first. So a drain.
Shows a manhole right here, so you can't go back any further.
In here?
Yeah.
There's a drainage.
Yeah, right, yep. Right.
It's a 6-inch pipe of some sort of
There
drainage
is,
pipe
yeah,
that runs
in
right
the
across
yard
the
there
land,
is,
yeah.
yep.
And see, it just continues
I was
on.
looking at it backwards.
Yeah.
Did he sign it?
Yeah, which the garage would be in front of that.
Did you say there was an apartment out back?
The neighbors, I thought that, I was looking at it backwards, I thought that pipe was their driveway. 'Cause they have,
Yeah, driveway right here.
yeah.
That's so funny.
So you probably have maybe another 20 feet, 25 feet between your property line and the driveway.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
That's wonderful. Glad they don't. Look at this.
So where is your neighbor's house in relation to this setback further than your father's?
It's about if I had to guess, I'd say 100 feet from the main house now. So the garage.
So you're talking 100 feet from the
On
street?
the back?
I'd say the garage would probably be end up about 60 feet away from the neighbor's house.
Oh, they are.
All right. Any other questions?
I feel like we need to look at the site. I'm pretty busy on Saturdays.
So the issue with the variance, when you're asking for a variance, there needs to be some sort of hardship that you can only put it in that spot. And so it either needs to be topography of the land issue, or it needs to be like it would be too costly to build it anywhere else on the site, or what else?
I mean, the way the yard and the driveway and things are, it's.
And I'm sure, but it's hard to see from here. So if we go and
Sometimes
we
it
just
makes
take a
more
quick
sense seeing it
look,
in person.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
and I think that would be our best bet, because then we could say, all right, well, that definitely makes sense. That is the only place it could be.
Right. Yeah, which I think you'd see that and be sorry.
And I'm sure we would.
If you do a on-site inspection, can you put the four corners where that building's gonna go?
Yeah.
Have somebody come in there and locate where you wanna put that building?
Yep.
Then when we go there, we'll see, how the topography of the land is and what we're gonna do.
Okay.
But we'll
Should we do it
down
that
there
same day?
and we'll look at
Just
it.
right after. Call it 10 o'clock?
On Saturday?
Be Saturday, yeah. Yep.
This Saturday?
No, it'll be the 29th?
29?
29th,
Yeah.
and we'll see.
I'll make a motion for an on-site for petition 990 for an on-site April 29th at 9:30.
Second?
All those in favor?
The 29th.
9:30?
Yep.
Yeah.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
I better hope I'm not coaching them.
No.
Okay.
The onsite is approved. We have a motion to extend the,
Yeah,
Continue petition number 990 to May 1st at 7:20. That's a bold goal.
that's an optimistic view.
Yeah.
Second on that?
Second.
All those in favor?
yes.
Yes. Yes.
So we're gonna have to hurry, because I have
So
to coach
we'll have a
at 10:30.
walksuit on the 29th, and then
At
you'll come
Summit,
back
though,
again
so-
May 1st, at 7:30. Okay? Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry
Sorry
your
to
father
wait
put you
so
up to
long.
this.
No worries.
Okay, minutes.
Oh my God. Minutes, we're almost into a different day.
You're working us to death here, Jerry.
Has everyone looked at the minutes for December 12th,
Sure.
2022?
Yes.
At this point. Oh, wow. Look at December 12th, 2022.
Yep.
But we don't have to vote on
Where
it.
were we in January?
Look at I'm seeing good minutes, which probably issue. I think that was
February, March.
Look at us getting it done.
Oh.
Fine.
Can I have a motion?
Motion to
I'm
approve.
actually having fun reading this one.
Bringing back memories.
Oh, no.
They were good.
I think
yeah.
that's trauma is the right word.
Oh, don't be traumatized.
Oh, there's
Okay?
absent for this one, so yes, I should.
Yeah.
Does that have that guy's name? He is so funny.
He's a character.
I love it.
do you motion?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes December 12, 2022.
Yes, motion.
Second?
Second. I don't know, just,
Yes, we voted.
I want to go home, I'm so
I
tired.
wanna go home, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
She's second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes, yes, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 13th, 2022.
I second that motion.
Second.
Oh, he's second so
Yes.
fast.
Yes.
Look at
yes,
us, we're
yes,
fast
yes.
now. We're ahead of schedule, guys.
Meeting minutes of February 13th been approved.
Do you
No
want some-
business.
you want us to approve some bills?
They can wait.
No bills.
Yeah.
I forgot mine.
There's no
they're here.
bills.
They're here. They're here.
Where are they?
Where?
Bills in here.
Oh, we got them, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve 4 bills for $90 to the Express newspaper and $32.82 to WB Mason.
Sign them.
Second.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Bills are approved.
Sign your life away.
I don't know, I'm sleeping, so I don't know what we're signing. I'm just,
Don't say that.
just kidding.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies.
Well, it's a long day.
That was a long one.
Yeah. So you did
We've
one.
been here till 11 o'clock.
We have. Yeah, we got later ones, but not for a long
Yeah?
That's what was here last month.
What is this?
Pick it up for it, right?
Oh, yeah. Skip,
Go here.
they were not here
That's right.
last month.
Wasn't it? You miss
Oh,
them?
man, it's like...
Yeah. What we got? Nothing good?
What's the close in Hamilton?
Huh? Yeah, nothing. Anyway, all right.
I'm still listening, I'm just tidying up.
Get it done.
There you go. We
What
here.
else we got?
Oh,
Nothing? You want a motion to adjourn?
no.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second.
No one want to adjourn?
Wait, we got something?
I'm just
Oh, all right. I was like, that's something.
All those in favor? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Y'all done?